It's time for Coffee and Cursey Words live. We are live. I have coffee. I have Cursey Words. It's bright out my window today. My light was struggling with what we're doing. We hit 199,000 and we have so many different topics to talk about today. It's so good to see you all coming in on the chat. Today we've got some quick bits. Then we're going to talk about Maxwell Juror 50, Alec Baldwin. You know how I feel about it, and Markle v. Markle. And then if I scoot my little boot on out of here, it's because there is also an Apple event live today. So please no spoilers in the chat if you guys start watching it before I wrap up live, because I will get distracted and I will never finish and I want to go watch it myself. So I appreciate you, Law Nerds, for being amazing. We have so much to talk about. I don't even think I added Juror 50 to the docket yet, because the reports are just coming out of court. And I haven't had a chance to add it to the docket yet. There we go. We updated the docket. Let us get going. Let me know what you're drinking, where you're coming in from, and we will be talking. Oh, also, Juror 50's stuff. I did a case brief episode of the podcast that'll be out tomorrow. I'm going to just bump it out on YouTube and on the podcast. I'm going to record an addendum for it after this. And then I'm participating in an International Women's Day like streamathon. I will share the links for that on social at the Emily D. Baker and to the text crew and over on Patreon and in the community tab here. So if you want to come and see my interview for the International Women's Day streamathon, I will make sure to share that with you. That's going to be later this afternoon that I'm participating in on another channel. So there's a lot going on today, but I will be adding kind of an update to that podcast tomorrow. So if you're like, we need to catch up on Juror 50, I got you tomorrow. We're going to just do a quick one today. So let me know what you're drinking and where you're coming in from. It's always so good to see our international crew. I should roll the intro. We've got a few things to talk about, and then we just need to get into it. So let's just... Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the Cursey words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. It's good to see all of you coming in, and replay crew, love you. I will put the timestamps in. I'm trying to find a better place for this mic so it's not just like in my face and hiding all of my glorious mane. It's gotten so long, we just have to show her off. She's having a moment. So I'm still working on that. We will just continue just updating, because why not? Because why not? Because why not? So with all of that, this week we have a members only live stream on Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. We alternate the times to accommodate all of the different time zones on this channel. If you are new here, just look at the chat. There are so many, and these are chats that came in before I started talking about this, but we have such a large international law nerd crew that we made sure to try to alternate those so that we could have a time that worked for everybody. So this week, there will be a live stream on Thursday. The members only live streams are always lots of fun. You can do that at lawnerdsunite.com or become a member here on the channel to join those and to see the old ones. Up to you if you want to do that. It is a bonus option, but the content that I put out now will always be here. If you are a subscriber, if you're just a casual watcher, if you just like to cruise by and be like, what's happening in the law? So much is happening in the law right now. If you are, it's making me crazy. We are running to keep up with everything that's been going on. And that's okay. I don't mind. Sure. We're never going to run out of things to talk about. And for those of you that are here watching live and not out buying gas, I appreciate you, because I was talking to my friends in LA. Y'all, I know it's crazy when gas in Middle Tennessee has gotten to like over $4, but I see y'all in California up over $7. It's wild. And San D, We are all here sending love to you and everyone in your country. Um, so I'm so glad the chat pointed out, so I was able to see it. So chat, I always appreciate you. Lawnards, you are the best. We should just jump into it because we have so much to talk about. What did I say? I said I did the housekeeping things, right? Members only stream on Thursday, all the things. Also, when we get to well, we've got a lot of polarizing figures. The mods will remind everybody that the chat is not a place to foster hate, even though some of the people that we talk about are polarizing and difficult to love. We try to keep it classy in the chat because it is a place to have discussion. So it is a place to have discussion. That said, trolls will be yeeted immediately. But if you're here to have a discussion, that's what we're here for. George, there's a wild George on my desk. We always see Fred, but now we've got a wild, sneaky peek of a George going to climb into one of the little cubbies back here on my desk, or maybe not. He's doing something. George is exploring. So we've got a George butt. Hello, George. You can go sit in the chair. Or you can lay on my iPad. Sure. Okay. As one does, as the paw nerds do. So before I get totally distracted by the paw nerd, let us get into some quick bits real quick because they're quick. We're going to make them quick. It's Tuesday. It's time for quick bits. Quick bits. I have done a little bit of content on the Jussie Smollett case and his conduct. If we want to get into some more cases of people lying about crimes, I mean, there's a very prominent kidnapping. I feel like maybe we should throw on the docket for Friday that wasn't a kidnapping that is resulting in lawsuits, not dissimilar from Jussie Smollett, who was prosecuted and convicted of making false police reports, but is also still civilly being sued by the city of Chicago for the amount of money they spent trying to solve a crime that he made up. So, with that, he is being sentenced on Thursday. There will be cameras in the courtroom. I know that Nate, the lawyer, is going to be streaming that. I might jump on a panel with him if I can. I've got some other things going on Thursday. If not, I will be breaking down his sentencing on social. So if you want my breakdown of that, just follow me there. I'll probably do just a real quick little breakdown of that sentencing after it happens. I wouldn't expect a ton of the way of sentencing. These charges don't carry a lot of heavy like custody time. I imagine a steep amount of community service and restitution and maybe a little bit of jail time is really the appropriate result. I don't think he's going to do this again. And generally, jail time is a deterrent and to keep the community safe. I don't think the community's at risk from Jussie Smollett lying about a hate crime being perpetrated on himself. I just don't. So I think he will get a lot of community service restitution to pay back what he's done, in addition to him being sued by the city of Chicago, and then maybe some jail time to make a point. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not holding out for jail time. Also, I don't know if it serves any purpose. I mean, yes, there's always a punishment aspect to criminal punishment. I mean, that's part of it, but really the deterrent effect, I don't know if it's going to deter him. I think a community service maybe will serve everyone better and let him remember that there is a larger community that was damaged when he was, having hundreds and hundreds of hours of police work spent to solve something that didn't actually happen. So I think that's probably what we're going to see. And we will talk about that after the sentencing happens on Thursday. In other news, now, I did not timestamp at all. Apology. Me, remember to timestamp. Also me. What? We're talking. We just started talking. The Ventura County, I was going to say Ventura County Sheriff's. Ventura County, the county of Ventura, has settled with Naya Rivera's surviving son and the family members that sued to represent her in the wrongful death suit over her drowning at a county lake on Lake Peru. It is a hard case for me to talk about it. It is literally nightmare fuel for me, so I'm not going to get into the details of it, but they are settling in an amount that they have disclosed will provide just compensation for her 6-year-old son in a sealed document. So the court just needs to approve it. I think that the court will easily approve it if they think that it's just compensation. I don't know if we need to know the amount, even though we get curious. I get curious, but I think that knowing that it's over and that they don't have to go through a trial is the appropriate thing to happen in most wrongful death suits. We're going to get to how I feel about the Baldwin wrongful death suit in a few minutes because, well, all of the rest suits, because he can't stop talking. But with regard to Glee actress Naya Rivera, I'm glad to see that they reached a settlement. I'm glad that it's not going to have to go to trial. And I hope that changes are made on Lake Peru so that, people can boat and swim safely. Um, so we will see what that settlement looks like, and wrongful death cases are hard when it comes to civil. We talked about that in my breakdown of the wrongful death case brought by the husband, representative, and son of Helena Hutchins in the Rust shooting. It's hard. The Rust shooting will be a little easier. Naya Rivera was swimming in kind of a no swimming area, so whether there was any contributory negligence analysis, those are the things that I never wanted to do. It's just so hard to break down. That's stuff that will happen if Jeff Wittick ever stops yelling about Ethan Klein and actually sues David Dobrik, who caused the problems in the first place. But we will see. So with that, we should swoop onto our next quick bits. Look, I'm actually going quick. I promised the quick bits would be quick. Me trying to actually do the things I say in the way that I say them before we get onto our main stories. Guess what? The prosecutors in the Cosby case won't let it go. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, Bill Cosby was convicted and then sentenced, and then his conviction was overturned and he was released from custody. Because it was overturned because prosecutors seem to have offered a plea agreement where Cosby could testify at civil hearings based on the fact that he would not be prosecuted. So a non-prosecution agreement where he wouldn't be prosecuted going forward. And so he could testify without invoking the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. I broke that sentence up very, very strangely. I apologize. But he could testify at the civil depositions without invoking his right against self-incrimination, because there was no threat that he was going to be prosecuted for these things that he was doing in the civil, or that he was being deposed about in the civil deposition, so that he could settle with the victim who alleged that he drugged and assaulted her. So with that, he did the civil depositions. She was able to reach a civil settlement of over $3.4 million. And then, as prosecution offices happen, a new district attorney was elected in, and they decided that they were not going to abide by what had been said by the previous district attorney, that wasn't really a binding immunity agreement, that they were going to use that civil deposition transcript to then go ahead and prosecute Bill Cosby, even though his actions weren't popular. Government officials have to have integrity. I know that feels like a misnomer or an oxymoron, but what you can't do is say, oh, no, you don't, we're not going to prosecute you. You don't need to invoke the Fifth. We're not going to prosecute you. And then turn around and use their words again. No, you can't do that. And the courts in Pennsylvania agreed that they can't do that. The prosecutors didn't stop there. Mm-mm. 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 Prosecutors didn't stop there. The prosecutors tried to get the court to reinstate the SA conviction and resentence Bill Cosby, even though it had been thrown out. And the justices of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania have said, negative, Ghost Rider, the pattern is full. So they have not taken up the case. They denied certiorari. Look, there is something so freaking pretentious about appellate law, but they denied a review of it, which means they've said, we're not doing this. We're not even reviewing it. We're not doing it. So from Law 360, they have reported that the Pennsylvania Justice David Wecht, W-E-C-H-T, Wecht, said in the court's 4-3 majority opinion. When a prosecutor makes an unconditional promise of non-prosecution, and when the defendant relies upon that guarantee to the detriment of his constitutional right not to testify, the principle of fundamental fairness that undergirds due process of law in our criminal justice system demands that the promise be enforced. I agree. I really hated what the prosecution did. I also hated what Bill Cosby did. But what you can't do is go back on non-prosecution agreements. Can you imagine the outrage if it was a defendant that there was public sympathy for, the outrage that people would feel? And that's the thing you have to remember when looking at these cases. Put aside that we hate what he did. It's disgusting. Put that aside and look at it in someone you're thinking is wrongly convicted and go, oh, well, I would hate that if the prosecution said, no, let's let this be dealt with civilly. The victim can be made whole through civil. I think there were other reasons why the prosecution might not have prosecuted here. The length of time, the fact that there was not corroborating evidence, the length of time before it was reported. I think there were other reasons why a prosecutor might have chosen not to prosecute this criminally, and saying, hey, you can be made whole civilly. We're not going to prosecute. So he's forced to testify in deposition, and you and your lawyer can grill him about what he did to you to reach an agreement, and saying that is the appropriate remedy here, given all of the situation and factors. And I talked about this in another video where I broke down why the court overturned his conviction. And I don't disagree. I don't like politically motivated prosecutions. I never will. I know that times change, and that our societal views of what should and should not be prosecuted do change, and we change prosecutors with that, and people vote in new elected officials to change laws with that. There is a system for it. But going back on a non-prosecution agreement crosses a line for me that I don't think is ever appropriate, because you can't mess with fundamental constitutional rights of a defendant, or our system means literally nothing. So I have strong feelings about it. I think they should have prosecuted him earlier. And if you say that they're not going to, for the reasons I listed that might have been the considerations, then that's fine. And if you want the full breakdown of what happened, you can absolutely go and take a look at that full breakdown of why that was overturned, because I have that in a separate video. So it went up. The district attorney's office tried to get the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania to reinstate it, and the Supreme Court yesterday said that they were not going to do that, that the prosecution was wrong. So, and I agree. Even when I hate it, I still agree. So with that, we need to move quickly on to something else. Oh, no, we're still going to be in the yuck. We're going to finish up one more that's in the yuck, and then we will rant about Alec Baldwin for a minute. Let's just finish up the yuck. I think that that's the best way to do it. Yep. Maxwell, juror number 50. WTF, y'all. WTF. If you have not been following this saga, I'm going to try to do the briefest of brief recaps for you. Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted December 29th. Shortly thereafter, juror number 50 started giving interviews in a lot of different places, including the Daily Mail. Should I just play the clip of what was said? Would that be helpful? Oh, I can't pull up this many media articles, news articles at once, because they just slow it down. I need to go and refresh my browser. I'm not doing that right yet. Do you guys want to hear what the juror said? We'll talk about what the juror said in just a second. So Ghislaine Maxwell gets convicted of 5 out of 6 counts. The juror starts giving interviews in multiple media outlets saying that they were a victim of abuse when they were a child, of that kind of abuse, so yes, SA in the abuse context. And this juror did not disclose that on their jury form. This was brought to the court's attention by the prosecution. The defense very quickly also brought a motion. They brought motions for new trial. The defense said that because of juror 50's non-disclosure, there should be a new trial. I don't necessarily disagree. We're going to have to talk about that in a minute. Juror 50 got a lawyer very quickly and tried to intervene, and the court was like, we're going to have a hearing. The court held that hearing this morning where the court inquired about Juror 50. Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team tried to bump this over for 2 months, and the court was like, no, we're not putting this over for 2 months because one of your 12 attorneys can't be here. No. The court's doing the questioning. We're not doing any of this. So with that, the hearing with Juror 50 was this morning. The crux of this inquiry is, did Juror 50 lie on their jury intake form under oath, under penalty of perjury? The juror indicated they were going to plead the Fifth Amendment. The court denied that request because it was not specifically made. I cover that in tomorrow's podcast. The government offered the juror immunity, meaning they're not going to prosecute the juror for the perjury if the juror says, I didn't answer that accurately at their testimony. I'm not surprised the AUSAs are not going to prosecute one juror over the potential misanswering. Well, now we know it was the misanswering of one question. That's not the type of case the AUSAs are going to waste their time on, but this can very really cause a mistrial in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. And I think that it is a very, very real possibility that this causes a mistrial in the Maxwell case, and Maxwell needs to be reprosecuted. I hate this result. I think it sucks, and I don't like it. I think it's the legally proper result. And the judge, I'm going to pull up the judge's order, if the judge's order is in here real quick. I'm just pulling up Pacer, and then I'm going to go to the media reports from the media that was in the courtroom today. Oh, that's not today. Today's the 8th. Those are from the 3rd. That's not helpful. Hopefully this will be up. Look, I will put an addendum on the podcast later, and I will share the court's order when it is in the system on social media later on today. I anticipate that this won't be populated on Pacer until later today. So let us go real quick to Reuters and go over what happened at this hearing with Juror 50 now that you have the background. So let me, Emily. Oh no, let's look at what he said first. Let's do that. Let's go to the tape, people. Let's go to the tape of what the juror said. Let's just do that first. I have headphones so I can hear. Let's do it. Let's do it. Do it. Let's do it. All right. Let's see if I can do this accurately. Let's see if I still have it on my desktop from yesterday. No. Did I get rid of it? Ugh. Why? Maybe it's still there. Nope. Hold on. Me going, hey, we could do this. Also me going, what have I done? Let's see. It's here somewhere. All right. Let's see. Should be that one. Hopefully this is the right one. And we're gonna just do our best. So I'm trying to share video files in a new way. And so I'm hoping this way works well for all of y'all. So let's pull this.
To share your story.
All right. The reporter for the Daily Mail starts with, you decided to share your story. I'm going to try to gain that up a little bit because it's quiet, and let us just take a look at what this juror has to say.
You decided to share your story. Presumably that's something that you'd tick yes to in the questionnaire. It was something that people were aware of when you were selected as a juror.
Presumably that's something you ticked yes to in the questionnaire.
No, they don't ask your sexual abuse history. They
Wrong answer.
didn't ask it in the questionnaire.
I thought in the questionnaire there was a question that asked if you were a victim or if you were a friend or a relative of a victim. Pretty sure.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. You see his face go, oh God. Oh, she's like, I'm pretty sure that they asked that. I'm actually pretty sure it's number 48. I have the juror verdict form or the jury questionnaire form in front of me.
It was number 48.
I don't remember.
Somebody sent me the questionnaire today and there was a question.
Interesting.
It was a question. Interesting.
I mean, I guess, when did you fill in that questionnaire?
I definitely, on the first day of jury selection, I would have definitely marked yes, but I honestly don't remember that question.
Because you're not in the stand right now to
No. I mean, I know my face is red because I can feel the blood, but
yeah, of course you're turning red. Of course you're turning red, because it's that moment where you're like, oh, I fucked up. If that question is on there, that's a problem. Because if that question is on there, which it is, he answered it incorrectly. So sorry, those headphones always sound loud when I have to put them back down. I have no better way to do it. Maybe I should just leave my headphones in, but I don't want to do that either. I need to get like little ones that like go around my ear, but I love my new little, anyway, it's a whole thing. Let us talk about what Juror 50 testified to today under oath. Again, because under penalty of perjury is also under oath. This is from Reuters. If I said that right, Reuters. I went to high school with a guy named Reuter. I can't help it. Reuters. Probably going to still pronounce it wrong in 7 seconds. Maxwell Juror says failure to disclose abuse was inadvertent mistake. I lied, Your Honor, but I definitely didn't mean to lie. A juror in the Maxwell SA trial said on Tuesday that his failure to disclose that he had been a victim of that when he was a child on a pre-trial screening form was an inadvertent mistake. Maxwell was convicted on December 29th on 5 of 6 counts she faced for helping the late financier Epstein procure and abuse. I'm going to add that in there because it's procure and abuse underage girls. Her lawyers demanded a new trial after Juror 50 told media, including Reuters, that he shared with other jurors his history of SA during deliberations. He said in the pretrial screening questionnaire that he had not been SA'd. U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan, who's been great, by the way. I like this judge a lot. I think they've been very thorough and conscientious. Said that the juror's statements provided evidence that he responded falsely on the questionnaire and questioned the juror about his responses in a Tuesday hearing in federal court. This is one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life, juror number 50, who testified without revealing his name, said in court. He revealed it to the media, though, and subsequently deleted his social media accounts. So that happened too. He testified that he had been abused by a stepbrother and the stepbrother's friend when he was 9 or 10. I didn't realize this would be in detail. I apologize if this is triggering to anyone who has also been a victim. Apologies. I didn't realize this would go into depth about his experience. So there is a warning. Whenever we talk about the Maxwell case, this can come up. He said that looking back on the question, he should have answered yes to that question on whether he had ever been abused, but that his history of abuse did not bias him. Inaccurate. I flew through this questionnaire. Juror number 50 testified, this is a terrible excuse, but I really don't think I really didn't think I'd be chosen. And it just doesn't matter. It matters. The amount of money, the hundreds of thousands of dollars spent for this trial, and what it will put the victims through to have to retry this case. It really fucking matters. I didn't think I'd be picked. It's like, I don't want to downplay the severity of it, being like, it's like you said on your resume that you speak Finnish and you don't. It's because it's so much more severe than that. The judge granted the juror immunity. I mean, the AUSA's office has to approve that, but they did. The judge granted the juror immunity after his lawyer said the juror would invoke his constitutional right to avoid self-incrimination, right? Because he perjured himself and declined to answer the questions at the hearing. The juror signed the form under penalty of perjury, meaning he could have faced legal consequences if he lied, which he did. The juror told Reuters he did not recall how he filled out the form, but he would have answered honestly. Maxwell faces up to 65. I disagree with everyone's assessment of this sentencing. I think she faces 40 to 45 to life, but I broke that down in another video. The judge has asked for briefing from the attorneys to be due, I believe, next week. Let me pull up the other article from Law and Crime that had what the judge ruled, because what we need is the judge's ruling in here too. So, Law and Crime, this is called commentary. I'm giving commentary on an article that you have published for public consumption. So this is me adding. Oh God, that's you adding ads. Jesus, Law and Crime. I mean, get that coin, I guess. Maxwell juror who didn't disclose essay on questionnaire testifies he made an inadvertent mistake. A juror who helped convict Maxwell of sex trafficking acknowledged on Tuesday that he filled out the wrong answer on a sworn questionnaire where he denied having been a victim. Called it one of the biggest mistakes of his life. I like that they include the verdict form. They include a picture. So I like that they include a picture. Let us continue on. Annie J say, what is he wearing? Teddy Fresh. He's not wearing Teddy Fresh. This ties into what his social media handles were. It was something bear. And so it was something bear. So that is that I think plays in to his brand on social media. I will have to go find it, but I think that plays in to his brand. So let me continue on. My hair is like in my way. According to his now unsealed jury questionnaire. Oh, we know about that. I talk about that tomorrow on the podcast too. And we've covered that on the show last week. This is what I wanted. U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan, who presided over the trial, ordered Tuesday's inquiry at the request of prosecutors, and the defense. And she referred to David by his juror number. The reason his name is out in public is because he put his name out in public by telling the media what his name was. So the court referred to him by juror number and asked whether the answer to the question was accurate. No, it is not, he acknowledged. What is the accurate answer to the question? Yes, for self, he said. The perpetrator, he said, was a stepbrother. We went over that. Did you tell anyone? The judge asked. I did not for several years. He said he eventually told his mother. And he says he didn't really think about it, period, and didn't tell very many people. The judge asked how he can reconcile that statement with him granting interviews to 3 international news organizations. He responded that watching testimony from Maxwell's victims inspired him to take that step. I felt that if they could be brave enough, then so could I, he said, or so can I, he said. Before Tuesday's proceeding, Spodek notified the court that his client, that's the attorney for Juror 50, would invoke the Fifth Amendment. Nathan signed the immunity agreement from the government requiring that the juror answer questions. David cannot be prosecuted for truthful answers as a result of that agreement. The judge noted in court papers before the hearing that child essay survivors can and do serve on juries routinely. The issue at the heart of the post-trial motions is whether he lied on the forms, which is true. The judge ordered the parties to file written arguments regarding the testimony on March 5th, 1 week from today. So I think what will happen now is we will see the defense reiterate their motion for new trial. And in that recitation, they will now have the full weight of this juror lied and would have probably had a peremptory granted or a excusal for cause. So he probably wouldn't have sat on the jury, and not being able to inquire about that deprives Maxwell of her Fifth Amendment right. No, not her Fifth Amendment right. Sorry, her right to a fair and impartial trial. We've talked about the Fifth Amendment in the last 2 stories, and my brain is still there, apparently. So do I think this will result in a mistrial? I think it's very, very likely. I think it's very, very, very likely. Also, when you know you're on I don't know, it feels weird to me to say, did he willfully do this? Did he not? It doesn't really matter. He says it's inadvertent. He definitely went out and did a lot of media interviews. I wonder if he was just excited about being on a high profile case and did just skip through stuff, or whether he skipped over stuff. I don't think we'll ever know. So we will see. I talk about it more in tomorrow's podcast. We're going to scoot on to talking about Alec Baldwin. Again, I'm going to swoop and then I will remember. And then I will remember. Then I will remember to remind you. The conversation here on my channel in the chat is an accepting kind of a place. We don't disparage, we don't disparage, we don't castigate people. We don't impugn people's character or question their mental health. So know that those types of comments will be moderated strongly because, well, those are my rules in the chat because it's a place for conversation. And it's hard to have a conversation when people are just like, this person sucks. Your opinion's dumb. This is not the place for that. And I bring it up as we're talking about Alec Baldwin because it's hard in this context not to diagnose with mental disorders. So I see it. I see the conversations. I know we're just going to talk about, we can talk about ego, but we are not going to diagnose with things that are in the DSM. I appreciate you. Let's talk about Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin, if you have not been following this, there's a whole playlist up on the channel. Alec Baldwin, blocking out a scene in the movie Rust, where he was lead actor and also a key producer, shot and killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins and wounded director Joel Souza. Baldwin has given a plethora of interviews about this, from roadside interviews to an interview with ABC News, and has not done anything, I don't think, to help himself in these interviews. There are multiple civil lawsuits pending regarding this case. I have broken all of them down. The Alec Baldwin defamation suit that is dealing with him but not related to the Rush shooting, I broke down on the channel. The wrongful death suit from Helena Hutchins' representative, her husband and son, is up on the channel. The two negligence civil lawsuits from members of the crew that were in the church when the shooting happened are also broken down and discussed on the channel. And the armorer suing the prop house is also discussed on the channel. So there are a lot of civil lawsuits going around with regard to negligence. The criminal investigation is ongoing. The weapon in question is still with the FBI for testing, and that can take some time. So we are not there yet with whether or not anyone will be criminally responsible for this case. Alec Baldwin seems to continue to distance himself from any moral or other perceived responsibility, indicating in a interview at a film festival that maybe he wasn't even negligent, which is just absurd. So we're going to go to people.com and then we are going to go to the video clip. Should we do the video clip first? Maybe we should just do the video clip first. I've overruled myself. Let's just go to what the fuck he said. Agreed. I agree with you. Chat, you're absolutely right. Let's just go directly to what he said at this film festival on stage. This has been edited by multiple news outlets. This is seeming to be a video from somebody that was there. It looks like cell phone footage. So let us go through and let me pull that up. Look, we've got video. We've got video today, you guys. It's like a real show and stuff. All right. Let us hold on. Don't just automatically play. Whoa. Getting all ahead of you. I mean, we've got video. We're excited, but let's not just automatically go to Alec Baldwin speaking about this again, seeming to distance himself from liability. I disagree. We're going to just talk about what he said, and then we're going to talk about why it's wrong and leave the underlying he also sucks under. We're just going to leave that underlying all of this because again, all right, let us just talk about it. Back up so we get to the beginning. What you have is a certain group of people. Can you guys hear? I'm going to try to gain. I think that's gained up as much as I can. He's saying what you have is a certain group of people. So I hope that's gained up enough for you because I don't think I can turn that up any louder. So hopefully you can hear it.
Against on whatever side, who their attitude is, well, the people who likely seem negligent have no money.
So he said the people who likely seem negligent have no money. So he's saying, not him, I'm not negligent. I think he's trying to indicate the armorer and others. The armorer, though, prevented from doing her job according to her lawsuit. So I don't know about that. But saying the ones who seem to have negligence here, aren't the ones who have money.
And the people who have money are not negligent. Why should
And the
people?
people who have money are not negligent. If y'all haven't watched the video where I go through the wrongful death lawsuit, please watch that video because it lays out a whole heap of alleged negligence that I think is well taken.
If you're not going to get money, that's what you're doing it for.
And then he ends with, why would you do a lawsuit if you're not going to get money? That's what you're doing it for. It's a disgusting statement. He's like, oh, well, the people with money aren't negligent. You're in charge of safety on the set. You're a producer. Production is responsible for safety on the set. You also held a gun and shot somebody, so you are responsible. You were negligent. If you weren't negligent, she would not have been killed, because if you weren't negligent, Alec Baldwin, you wouldn't have been pointing a gun at someone where they would have been killed. That is your negligence. Not loading the bullet in the gun, pointing a weapon at someone is your negligence. So, yeah, these civil suits aren't just all BS. And he if you haven't watched my breakdown, like, I'm mad and it's making my head itchy. If you haven't watched my breakdown of his ABC interview, please do. But he is in there talking about these civil lawsuits, saying, I can't believe these other lawsuits were filed before Helena Hutchins' husband filed. How dare they file lawsuits before Helena Hutchins files the wrongful death suit? And he was appalled that the other lawsuits would be filed ahead of the wrongful death suit. And now he's sitting on stage saying the only reason he's being sued in the wrongful death lawsuit is because the people who were negligent don't have money. You were holding the fucking gun. Who is more negligent? You were holding the gun. I realize that he might need to mentally distance himself from what he has done, but he needs to do that in therapy and privately, not on stage saying the only reason these people are suing me is for money. Helena Hutchins shouldn't have died at work. She died at your hand. You had fake empathy in your video. And if you don't watch Observe, Observe does body language analysis and is a fantastic creator, and did a breakdown of Baldwin's body language in that interview. Go watch it and see for yourself. But he tried to show that he had empathy for Helena's husband and her son. And now, after her husband has made statements critical of Baldwin, now Baldwin's saying everyone's suing me for money. Oh my God. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I hate it so much. So Baldwin won't shut the fuck up. No doubt his lawyers have told him to stop talking about it. He's not going to do that. His lawyers, I'm sure, have told him he's not going to do that. It's just, even if everyone else was negligent, and this is how I see the analysis, even if everyone else was negligent, if he hadn't pointed a gun at someone and been manipulating it, it wouldn't have gone off and hurt Joel Souza and killed Helena Hutchins. If he had been pointing off center and not pointing it at anyone, it might have damaged the set, but it wouldn't have hurt someone. It might have hurt their ears because nobody had ear protection because it wasn't supposed to be loaded, but it wouldn't have killed someone. So who's not negligent? I don't know how this person still has fans. I don't know why he's being invited to speak at film festivals. I don't know why anyone wants to hear what he has to say. But as long as he keeps talking about this case, and until he ends up settling these civil lawsuits or getting prosecuted, we are still going to be talking about it, because it feels like the world is. Why are we interviewing him about movies? Why? Stop it. Stop it. He's just being gross. Stop it. I hate it so much. Let's talk about when defamation's defamation. Let's play Is It Defamation? Because it's kind of lighthearted a little bit. I mean, it's not going to be lighthearted for Meghan Markle. I'm sure it's not fun getting sued by a family member. That has to suck. But defamation is a little bit lighter than the other things we're talking about. So we're going to play along together, chat and comments down below. This lawsuit has a number of examples of statements that are defamatory, and I think it'll be helpful to just go through a defamation analysis on the statements and play, is it defamatory, for the crowd at home? Because this is the thing about defamation, is when you look at it, we're going to assume that the statements are true for the purposes of the lawsuit, meaning we're going to assume that the statements in the lawsuit accurately I should swoop. Sorry, y'all. I should swoop. Let me swoop. It's time to play Is It Defamatory? Markle versus Markle edition. Let me timestamp myself. Where am I? No, that was like 44. Timestamp. Is it defamatory? This lawsuit lays out a number of statements. For the purposes of the lawsuit, lawsuits are allegations and shade. True story. But for the purpose of evaluating this lawsuit, we're going to assume that the statements that they put in accurately reflect what was said in the book or the interview or whatever. That is an accurate recitation of the statements made. If it's not an accurate recitation of the statements made, it's going to get thrown out because they're going to say, these are the statements made, and this is what they're saying we said, and those two things aren't the same. Part of the issues that I had in the H3 Ethan Klein and Ryan Kavanaugh lawsuit was that some of the statements Kavanaugh was portraying as other than how they were said by Ethan Klein. So we're going to just do, is it defamatory? Markle v. Markle. I don't follow the royals super closely, other than going, oh, pictures of kids. Yay. Aren't they pretty? Everyone's hair looks so nice all the time. So I don't follow the royals that closely at all. I'm not very well familiar with Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, all of it. I know that there's other lawsuits going on with Prince Harry in the UK and here. I have not followed them at all. I can, if you guys are like, royals, more royal lawsuits that aren't Prince Andrew. We're here for it. We're here for other royal lawsuits. Then we can talk about it. So this is a first look. I've done a quick skim of this, but I have not really read it in depth. And we're just going to see, again, lawsuits. Friends, lawsuits are allegations and shade. Let's see what these allegations and shade are. And Meghan Markle's attorney has already come out and said that this is a bogus lawsuit and it's all nonsense. So we will deal with that. Let us go to screen share. Why won't you share my screen? So let's see. Complaint for damages. Plaintiff who suffers from multiple sclerosis and is confined to a wheelchair. Well, they're just coming out to paint a picture in a way that they want to paint the picture. Remember, I do say that lawsuits always have kind of a resume portion where they give you like the rundown of who the plaintiff is and the light most favorable to the plaintiff, and that's what they're doing here. So plaintiff who suffers from MS and is confined to a wheelchair brings this, which we're going to have to ask how this is relevant later, because I want to know how this is relevant to the suit other than just setting the stage. Like, other than just setting the stage. How is this relevant? Brings this action for defamation based on demonstrably false and malicious statements made by her half-sister to a worldwide audience, including roughly 50 million people in 17 countries who watched the Oprah Winfrey interview. Oh, so it's over the interview. Okay. With defendant Markle and her husband, Prince Harry of England. Defendant also published, and the book too. I thought it was both. Defendant also published and disseminated false and malicious statements about the plaintiff in a New York Times bestselling book, Finding Freedom, and in many newspapers and media outlets worldwide. Defendant Markle, hereafter Meghan. Oh, I guess we can't call them Markle because they're both Markle. I guess we can't do that. Defendant Meghan became Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex following her marriage to His Royal Highness Prince Harry of England, the Duke of Sussex, in May 2018. I did watch the wedding. It was lovely. Meghan, who was featured with Prince Harry on the cover of Times Magazine's annual feature, The World's Most Influential People, published and disseminated false and malicious lies designed to destroy plaintiff's reputation and which have subjected plaintiff to humiliation, shame, and hatred on a worldwide scale. Defendant used the powerful resources of the royal family's public relations operation to disseminate and spread lies. I have a question. I have a question with that. Wasn't the Oprah interview and the book after she kind of broke with the royal family? Like, isn't that what happened? I don't know how she's using the royal family's PR operation when these things occurred after she had broke with the family and was highly critical of them. So I don't know how they're alleging that she used the weight of the royal family's PR. So in the chat, you all are like, yes, yes, yep. So not wrong. We're accurate. It was after. Right. Okay. So again, how can you say that she used the weight of the royal family because this was after her break with the royal family? I don't think the royal family were helping Meghan do shit. Like, let's just be honest. I don't think at all. But okay, we're just gonna try to, we're just gonna go through and see what it says. I think that's probably an inaccurate statement. But they're alleging that she used the royal family's public relations operation to disseminate and spread lies worldwide about the plaintiff and defendant's own father, who in a premeditated campaign to destroy their reputation and credibility so they could not interfere with or contradict the false narrative and fairy tale life story concocted by defendant. Okay. Father's not suing though, so not super relevant. On March 7th, 2021, hey, yesterday was March 7th, 2022. What good timing. On March 7th, 2021, CBS aired a primetime special viewed by approximately 50 million people worldwide, featuring Oprah Winfrey interviewing Meghan and Prince Harry. During the interview, in a calculated effort to damage and discredit plaintiff and her published autobiography, the defendant falsely and maliciously stated that, wait a second, does the plaintiff have an autobiography? Wait. Why don't we list plaintiff as an author up here then? It did. My brain blanked it out. My bad. That's on me. Defendant also published and disseminated false and malicious statements about plaintiff. Wait, no, that's defendant's book, Finding Freedom. Wait, who has a book? Why don't they tell me if the sister wrote a God damn it. I'm going to have to Google, because it seems that they're indicating that sister has a book. During the interview, in a calculated effort to damage and discredit the plaintiff and her published autobiography. Okay, I need answers. Okay, Samantha Markle. Let's see what Samantha Markle has to say if she wrote a book. Let's just look. We're Googling Samantha Markle book. I can't tell if that's a joke or not. Wait, is this a joke? The Diary of Princess's Pushy Sister? Is this a joke that this is what comes up? Or is this what she wrote? What? This is the book she wrote, and she is mad at Mark. Okay, I've got questions. Samantha Markle. Let's see. What does the book have to say? It looks like why don't we have a description of the book? Sorry, we've got questions. Things are not always as they seem in a world where social labels and perceptions often define who we are, how we live, and how we view each other. With a BA in sociology and an MA in counseling, Samantha never thought she would find herself caught in between the crosshairs of media mayhem as she defends herself and her father by dispelling social labels and quote-unquote fake news when her sister marries a duke and a royal fairy plummets from the tea towels. Samantha holds firmly to the belief that truth, family, and faith triumph over preconceptions, quote unquote plots, and quote unquote ultimatums. The truth is stranger than fiction. This is a real book? Y'all in the chat are, I'm living for you. Lynn Spears vibes. It's giving Lynn and Jamie Lynn vibes. I have so many questions. What? First of all, this is her half sister. Second of all, what the fuck? The Diary of a Princess's Pushy Sister. Who is the pushy sister? Her? So she's writing a book talking about all of this is her. How much of what is happening is because of her book? When did this book get published? Hold on. I need more information about when this book got published. Let's see. Let's see all formats and editions. No. All right. Let's go look at the ISBN. I now have questions. You're watching me deep dive in real time. We're spiraling in real time. Apparently there's going to be a book too. This, let's see. This is a Us Weekly article. Meghan Markle's half-sister Samantha Markle details their childhood, last conversation, and more in The Diary of a Princess's Pushy Sister, Part 1. Oh my. Well, this is the kind of pop culture legal case that I'm living for. There's a lot going on here. Okay. Oh, you guys are right. I'm reading it wrong. Princess Pushy's sister, not Pushy sister. Sorry. Me. All right. Spilling the royal tea. Samantha Markle looked back on her rocky past with her half-sister Meghan Markle in her new memoir, The Diary of Princess Pushy's Sister, Part 1. You're right. I put the emphasis in the wrong place. Meghan being Princess Pushy instead of the princess's pushy sister. See, sometimes you see it happen in real time, and then people are like, Emily, what is wrong? Sorry, dyslexic, ADHD. Things happen. I appreciate the chat. This is why I like to live stream. Y'all correct me in real time when I have mixed things up in my brain. Oh my goodness. With their 16-year age difference, the pair were always on different paths despite sharing a father, Thomas Markle. Well, they're 16 years different. Of course it is. After Meghan 39 found herself in the global spotlight in 2016 amid her romance with Prince Harry, Samantha 56 told Us Weekly exclusively that it had been a while since the siblings had really talked. Hopefully we can have a heart-to-heart. Why? The author noted in November 2017, I want her to know I'm wishing her well and there for her. At the end of the day, I want her to know that the love is there. Okay. Samantha's books dives into her earliest memories with the Suits alum who she claimed got, quote, whatever she wanted and needed, quote, from their dad as a kid. Oh, so we're also calling her spoiled. Great. With the Suits alum who she claimed got whatever she wanted and needed from their dad through. Though she left no subject off the table, Samantha told us earlier this month that she didn't write the book to put garbage into the universe about the Duchess of Sussex. What was it just to sell a book off of your sister's name? Jamie Lynn Spears. Was it just like that? Was it like that? Was it like your sister was in the spotlight, so you just needed to sell a book? Is that what it's like? I'm confused. Contrary to troll gossip and aggregate news rumors. I didn't know this was going to get so good. Oh, I'm living. Okay. Contrary to troll gossip and aggregate news rumors, my book has never been designed to attack my sister. What? I haven't read the book and I've quite like, what? What? You've called her spoiled and pushy. Okay. It's relatable. There's a lot to learn, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've been very forthcoming that I was never writing a hardbound tabloid. I said that 2 years ago, but nobody wanted to believe it. The twosome were estranged for years. There's a 16-year age gap. The twosome were estranged for years, but their family tension only worsened when Thomas, 76, was caught staging paparazzi pictures week before Meghan's May 2018 wedding to Harry, 36. Neither Thomas nor Samantha, who admitted to encouraging her father's photo scandal, attended the royal wedding. While Meghan has seemingly distanced herself from her family apart from her mother, Samantha and Thomas haven't shied away from airing their family drama in the public eye. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex announced in January 2020 that they would be stepping down from their senior royal roles, Samantha called the decision, quote, a slap in the face, end quote, to British royal tradition. She's British and from Florida. Fascinating. I'm being sarcastic. She's not British. She's just from Florida. I think what is shocking is the lack of consideration for the people involved, the British royal family, and the promises that were originally made to honor royal duties and lead by example, she told Inside Edition. Why is she commenting on it, though? Like, but why? But why are you commenting on it, though? Like, okay. And the promises were originally made to honor. She told Inside Edition they stepped into the spotlight knowing what the duties were, knowing what the media would be like for them. If she wanted to be so private, she wouldn't have sat at Wimbledon with 40 empty seats around her. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Thomas and Meghan's special bond. According to Samantha, her father and Meghan were inseparable almost instantly from birth. Thomas wore a lot of hats in the family at the time and has been both maternal and paternal towards his youngest daughter. Their relationship is up for her to decide too, though. I'm just saying there are two sides to a relationship. He called her his bean, which to him meant a beautiful bean that would grow into a beautiful baby. Okay. Coping with Thomas and Doria's divorce, Meghan's parents were wed in 1979 and split 10 years later. At the time, Meghan spent half her time with dad, the other half with mom. While Samantha wondered if Meg felt like she was torn between two worlds at the time, her younger half sister never expressed whether she was feeling unhappy to her sister that's 10 years older. Okay. From what I saw, she really enjoyed having two houses with one bridge between them. I mean, kids cope with divorce in a lot of ways. Samantha alleged, recalling she tried not to talk about the divorce in front of Meghan often. Meghan's demanding attitude. The way Samantha remembered it, Meghan got, quote, whatever she needed. I mean, everyone who has a younger sibling, do you feel like your younger sibling gets what they want from their easygoing father while growing up? I don't ever recall dad saying no to her. Who cares? However, Samantha saw her become a more demanding of Thomas as she got older. He was paying for Meghan to get a great education. Instead of showing gratitude, she was being belittling and controlling. I mean, it's kind of the parents' role to it's kind of the parents' role, though, to set the boundaries on the relationship. Like, that's kind of the role for a parent. Meghan's first marriage to Trevor Ingleson, I don't care. Sure, the now exes tied the knot in Jamaica in 2011, while Samantha did not attend the ceremony, so she didn't go to the other wedding either. She was happy that the duo, who really seemed like a match made in heaven, the nuptials were also a special moment for Thomas, who was proud to finally see Meghan happy in a long-term relationship. Did he go to Jamaica? Very curious. The last time they spoke, by the time Meghan and the film producer called it quits in 2013, Samantha claimed she had really lost contact with her half-sister. However, their last meaningful conversation wouldn't come until nearly 3 years later when Samantha called Meghan at her Canada apartment in December 2015. It seemed as though she was excited to hear from me, Samantha recalled. Again, there's two sides to all relationships, just saying. Blaming their frequent miscommunication of their completely different schedules. I mean, if she was filming a TV show, I can understand that. When Meghan started dating Harry in mid-2016, Samantha claimed that she heard the news from Thomas, not the former actress. I mean, if y'all have siblings you're distant from, do you call them and be like, I'm dating someone? I don't know. Is that the expectation? Watching her half-sister step into the royal spotlight came with a few challenges, especially when Samantha began to notice that somewhere along the line she had changed. How would you know, though? Like, how would you know, though? Okay. Staged paparazzi photos. I don't really care. All right. So we've got a little more background of the sister that came because I didn't know the sister had a book. And the sister also changed her name to Markle after Meghan and Harry started dating, which is interesting to me, that she was going by a different last name before that. So Markle is a newer acquisition on the last name scale. Let's get back into this now that we've clarified whose fucking book we're talking about, because this lawsuit wasn't clear, that the sister also wrote a book. And here's why it matters to me as I soliloquy. Here's why it matters to me. Because if the sister published a book first talking about the relationship, I'm very interested to see what the sister says in this lawsuit about what was put in Meghan's book. Because it seems like you have a book and she has a book. Y'all can tell your respective sides of the story. Is it defamatory is what I want to know. I have to rewatch this Oprah special and reassess. All right. Here we go. During the interview, it's in a calculated effort to damage and discredit plaintiff and her published autobiography. So they think that the interview was to discredit the book. The The defendant falsely and maliciously stated that 1, she was an only child. 2, she last saw plaintiff at least 18, 19 years ago before that, 10 years before that. And 3, plaintiff only changed her surname to Markle in her early 50s when Meghan started dating Prince Harry. So let's go through this. On first glance, she was an only child. How is that damaging to reputation, though? They're half sisters that are 16 years apart. And I'm going to have to see what context it is, because if she said she grew up like an only child, it's not going to be a defamatory statement. I don't know how this statement, is technically false, but I don't know how this is damaging to reputation. Maybe it's because she is trying to distance herself from her half sibling, but the how that is said and the context is really going to matter. 2, she last saw the plaintiff at least 18, 19 years ago, and before that, 10 years before that. How is that damaging to reputation? Someone help me. Help. I need somebody. Help. Not just anybody. Help. How? Okay, and the plaintiff only changed her surname to Markle in her early 50s. So maybe that can be reputationally damaging, but I would be interested to see what the damages are on that and how that's reputationally damaging. Let's keep going. Defendant and her agents have intentionally promoted and published the false and malicious narrative that plaintiff has only met the defendant a handful of times in her life, but that plaintiff has created a shameful career selling fabricated stories to the press about the defendant's childhood. The defamatory implication. Oh, thanks. They're going to explain it. Yay. Well, good. Explain it to me. The defamatory implication is that plaintiff had no relationship whatsoever with her sister Meghan. They were virtual strangers, and that plaintiff has created a lucrative career selling false stories to the tabloids and television programs when she knows nothing about defendant's childhood. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get there. I can see why the statements might be hurtful. I can see why the relationship might need some repairing. I don't know if a defamation lawsuit is the way to go about that. I feel like it's a bit of a reach because, again, just because it's hurtful doesn't mean it's defamatory. In November 2021, the defendant's intentional plan to defame the plaintiff was exposed when the defendant's communications secretary, public relations representative, I don't know if those things are analogous, but okay, Jason Nuff, I'm going with that, disclosed in a British court case that defendant had instructed him by email to meet with 2 biographers and disseminate the false statements that 1, the defendant was an only child who only met the plaintiff a handful of times, and 2, the plaintiff only changed her surname to Markle after defendant started dating Prince Harry to cash in on her newfound fame, and 3, that the plaintiff is promiscuous and a bad mother who lost custody of all 3 of her children from different fathers. Oh, but okay. But are those also defamatory statements that we're alleging? Because when you get into promiscuity, it can get into defamation per se. But then you have to argue about defining promiscuity, which seems like not anything anybody would want to do. Okay, but again, this is a sibling that's 16 years older and a half sibling. Okay. So far, these 3 new statements are not these statements up here. I'm curious how many defamatory statements we're suing for. These top 3 statements in paragraph 3, I've got questions about. When we get to the statements published to the communications secretary, and remember, defamation can be published to just one other person depending on the state. So it really depends whether they would consider that email to be a defamatory statement, but I don't know if that's going to have jurisdiction in Florida. We haven't even gotten to a jurisdiction clause yet. I'm still not seeing how you're telling me that we even have jurisdiction in the Middle District of Florida. I don't even know how we got there. So it's just okay. Let us continue on. Let's see. What else is she alleging? So that email's attached to Exhibit 1. It'll be interesting to see if that if that email will be counted as defamation per se when they go down and add it. Because again, just spreading things that are defamatory to one person can be defamatory. Damages becomes another problem. You have to show that you were damaged by it. I don't know if you're damaged by it, but if that person then disseminated it, maybe. So the questions from this email, these two, I have more questions about. So, okay, let us see. Defendant's defamatory email to her public relations representative, Mr. Nuff, was not only published globally, but it formed the basis for a full chapter in the New York Times best-selling book, Finding Freedom, titled A Problem Like Samantha. What's titled what? What's titled what? What's titled what? Is that the subtitle of Finding Freedom? This lawsuit should make it clear. Peach and Apple, commented Emily, would have actually researched this before talking about it. No, I'm trying to parse what they're alleging from what they filed in court, because what they filed in court has to stand on its own without research. So we should be able to parse what they did. Their complaint should be well pled on its face so we can parse what they are alleging and if what they are alleging is defamatory. So, which is why I cover things when I'm like, is this what they're saying? A Problem Like Samantha is a chapter in the book. Great. Thanks all. The writing is not clear. But I guess when they say, but it formed the basis of a full chapter in the best-selling book, Finding Freedom, titled, they're referring back to the chapter, but also a little hard to file. Indeed, the first sentence of chapter 12 disparagingly states the trouble began with Samantha Markle. Well, what trouble are they referring to? And I don't know if that's disparaging. That is opinion. I mean, I don't see how that sentence is anything other than opinion. That's her opinion. Her opinion is the trouble began with Samantha Markle. That's just a statement of opinion. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. Because I am seeing from the mods and some of the chat that there is some, we're gonna cut down on some of the trolley. So we'll just, sorry y'all, we're just gonna make the chat a little bit longer because that's not what we do. But you know, as we don't, because the law nerd community. All right, let's keep going. After Finding Freedom was published in August 2020, the defendant falsely claimed in a British court proceeding that she and Prince Harry had nothing to do with the content of Finding Freedom, including the defamatory narrative about plaintiff and her family prominently featured in the best-selling book. Who wrote the book then? You said that defendant published and disseminated a New York Times best-selling book, Finding Freedom. Isn't that the defendant's book? That's what you alleged. Could you make it more clear? So she claimed in a court proceeding that they had nothing to do with the content of the book. Why are they saying that Meghan Markle published the book then? You guys are saying no. Meghan didn't publish the book. Then why did they say defendant, Meghan Markle, defendant. This is why I'm confused. Defendant also published and disseminated false and malicious statements about the plaintiff in the New York Times bestselling book, Finding Freedom, and in many newspaper outlets. I don't know how you get there if she didn't publish it, but I guess that's where this email comes in saying she told someone to tell the people writing the book the things. Is that the allegation? Like she told someone to tell someone who put it in a book and that's the defamation? I'm trying to follow the trail of the defamation. I need you to make it more clear. This complaint needs to allege on its face. Okay, we're going to just keep going. All right. After Finding Freedom was published in August 2020, the defendant falsely claimed in British court. Okay, falsely claimed that they had nothing to do with its content. All right. Defendant assumed that Mr. Nuff was her loyal servant and that her scheme to defame and denigrate plaintiff and her family would remain a secret. Ooh, there's a footnote. Oh, there's 2 footnotes. We missed footnote 1. Oh, footnote exhibit 1, footnote 1. Why are you footnoting an exhibit? Let's go to the footnotes. Mr. Nuff terminated his business relationship with Meghan because he could no longer deal with her mistreatment and bullying of employees of the royal family and her misleading statements to the British court. How do you know that? That's a whole lot of supposition. There's a whole lot of shade. That's a conclusory statement that doesn't seem to be backed up by this kind of statement would need to be backed up by a declaration of some kind of formal declaration signed under penalty of perjury where this individual is saying that is why they left. You can't just that's why they threw it in a footnote. That's where the shade goes, because you could make those allegations, but I don't think they can say that, because I don't see a declaration. All right. Defendant's intent to conceal her role in disseminating. Oh, I forgot my footnote was in disseminating the false and defamatory statements about the plaintiff was revealed in an email from Prince Harry. Wait, the email's from Prince Harry? Earlier, they said the email was from Meghan. Who's the email from? False and defamatory statements about the plaintiff were revealed in an email from Prince Harry instructing defendant's public relations representative that the defendant's communications to the authors of Finding Freedom needed to remain secret. Quote, I totally agree that we have to be able to say we didn't have anything to do with it. See Prince Harry's email. Are there 2 emails? It's so confusing. I think there's 2 emails. I think there's 2 emails. They just didn't make it clear. So why drop a second email in the footnote if you're not going to make it clear in the text of the lawsuit? Why? Defendant assumed that Nuff was her loyal servant, and then they go on to talk about an email from Prince Harry, but they're attributing it in this sentence to Meghan, and that is a problem. However, they say Nuff's disclosure and dissemination of defendant's email proved she had blatantly lied in a high-profile British lawsuit, and that defendant filed against a prominent newspaper. Well, then they need to just put the transcript of the lawsuit in. If they all swore under oath, then just put the transcript in as an exhibit. After Nuff's embarrassing disclosures, including that the defendant's incriminating email, Meghan was compelled to publicly apologize to the British court for her false statements. Well, that I will have to look into, claiming she forgot that she had instructed Nuff to meet for several hours with the authors of Finding Freedom to, among other things, disseminate the defamatory statements. Oh, now we get to the point. That could have gone up higher, so we could have followed along. To, among other things, disseminate defamatory statements about the plaintiff and her family. See news articles regarding Meghan's apology to the court attached as Exhibit 3. Normally they also include links, but what's footnote 3? Oh, we haven't gotten to footnote 3. Exhibit 3. Okay. Defendant orchestrated the campaign to defame and destroy her sister's and her father's reputation. Her father is not a plaintiff in this lawsuit. Stop bringing him up. He's not a plaintiff. It's like Triller being mad at Ethan Klein in the H3 podcast about shit that was said about Ryan Kavanaugh. Not the plaintiff. Ugh. Also, now I have to go look at this court case, because if Meghan Markle lied under oath, that's a problem too. I don't know if it comes up in this defamation suit, but it's sure interesting to know. Okay. All right. See news articles. We'll get to Exhibit 3 in a minute. Defendant orchestrated the campaign to defame and destroy her sister and her father's reputation and credibility in order to preserve and promote the false rags to royalty narrative defendant had fabricated about her life to the royal family and the worldwide media. For example, in a very public letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and in appearances on television programs such as The Oprah Interview and Ellen. Footnote 3. Defendant Defendant willfully participated in these high-profile media events after proclaiming that she and Prince Harry moved to California to establish a more normal private lifestyle for themselves and their children away from the cameras and media attention in England. Who cares, though? Okay, again with the shade and the footnote, that has nothing to do with the defamation. I understand that they are trying to promote the narrative that she is just a lying liar that lies, and that she said she wanted a private life and she's doing all these interviews. But it doesn't really it just doesn't seem relevant to me. I understand that they want to take as many shots at Meghan Markle as they can, but it just doesn't seem relevant in the context of a defamation lawsuit. They're saying that Meghan falsely claimed that, again, hold on. I am going to guess that none of these statements are defamatory, and these are just in here to take shots at Meghan Markle. Let me know what you think after we get to the end of these statements. They're saying that Meghan falsely claimed that A, she essentially raised herself from virtual poverty. B, she was forced from the age of 13 to work in a series of low-paying jobs to make ends meet. C, she worked to pay for her Northwestern college education. D, she drove an old car with malfunctioning doors and had to enter and exit via the trunk. E, she had no siblings and virtually no contact with her family. F, her family could only afford the $4.99 salad bar at Sizzler's. G, her father refused to attend her wedding. And importantly, H, plaintiff's published autobiography was nothing more than a book of lies, hereinafter referred to as defendant's fairy tale life story. So these statements they are trying to wrap up as defendant's fairy tale life story. That's what they got to? That's what they got to? What? What? See Pelosi letter and news articles attached as Exhibit 4. Okay, she was in the media. Okay. But where are we getting to the defamatory statements? Other than plaintiff's published autobiography was nothing more than a book of lies. Also, could that be seen as opinion? Okay. They're saying in truth, and again, this I don't think goes to any of the defamation. Let me know. What do you think? In truth, defendant's father, Thomas Markle, was a highly successful television lighting director for 45 years on various hit television shows, including General Hospital, Married with Children, and Facts of Life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both. There you have the facts of life. The facts of life. I couldn't help myself. I needed a mental break from this. Her father is not a plaintiff in this lawsuit. It's totally fucking irrelevant. I wonder if she was like, Dad, hey, yeah, no, totally filing a lawsuit against Meghan. No, don't worry. We got you covered in here too. It's not relevant to whether she defamed the sister. None of the shit about the dad is relevant at all. Other than them wanting to paint a picture. And if you paint a picture in a lawsuit, it's covered by what now? Say it with me, y'all. Litigation privilege, because defamation is a false, non-privileged statement. Litigation privilege is a privileged statement, which is why we say these are allegations. And none of this has a fuck thing to do with the sister. Where are you in your own lawsuit? We're searching for you, Samantha. Where are you in your own lawsuit? Here's your dad's resume. Great. Markle was recognized with 2 Emmy Awards and 13 Emmy nominations for excellence in lighting design. Wonderful. Mr. Markle's income placed him in the top 10% of annual household incomes. Oh, there's a footnote. Mr. Markle's 6-figure salary at ABC television afforded defendant an upper middle class lifestyle, although it may now seem like a pittance to a quote unquote duchess living in a $21 million Santa Barbara mansion with neighbors like Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Rob Lowe, and Ariana Grande. So again, this just reads like they want to take pot shots at Meghan Markle for other shit. But it also doesn't sound like Meghan's story of exactly how she grew up is maybe 100% accurate. However, this is all covering what Meghan's experience was like with her father. This doesn't cover what her experience was like in time she spent with her mother, because they've made it very clear that the parents were divorced. So this is just a lot of mudslinging at this point, and I haven't seen anything that's substantive about this lawsuit yet. Defendant was not forced at the age of 13 to work in low-paying jobs to make ends meet. Defendant attended elite and expensive private schools and dance and acting classes in LA paid for by her father. Okay. Again, what does this have to do with the defamation lawsuit? Anyone? Bueller? And if the dad's mad about the statements, he's not in this lawsuit. So the dad, okay. All of this about the dad's fucking irrelevant. It's fucking irrelevant. It's just irrelevant at this point. Okay. Let's see. Is this it reads like the sister being like, Dad, I got you. I'm the better child, right? That's what it reads to me. That's just how it's reading to me. My mind might change. Dad Markle also paid for all of defendant's college education at Northwestern, including tuition, rent, and living expenses, and even took out loans to cover the considerable cost. Oh, okay. After defendant graduated college, Dad Markle paid for defendant's apartment and other expenses until she could afford to take care of herself. Markle arranged for defendant to get a speaking part on the ABC hit show General Hospital, so defendant could get a Actors Guild union card that enabled her to audition for television shows. Defendant drove a perfectly operational Ford Explorer with functional doors. Who the fuck cares? Defendant had 2 siblings. The plaintiff and her brother, they're step siblings, so that might be a matter of opinion, because Meghan's allowed to feel like she grew up as an only child when her siblings were substantially older than her. Dr. Riley is in the chat giving exactly what we need right now. Daddy, I love you. Which is a nice twist on Daddy loves you. It's Daddy, I love you. I love you. Okay, great. Defendant drove a perfectly functional Ford Explorer. How do you know this? You didn't okay. Defendant had 2 siblings, plaintiff and brother. Defendant had frequent and regular contact with her sister Samantha throughout her childhood. Define regular contact. Define regular contact. Okay. This is a lot of speculation and opinion. Markle regularly took defendant to the finest and most expensive restaurants in Los Angeles. Who cares? Mr. Markle suffered 2 heart attacks in the weeks before his daughter's wedding in May 2018 due to the stress associated with the royal wedding, the constant hounding and harassment by paparazzi and other media, the upsetting text messages he received from defendant and Prince Harry, and Mr. Markle's cardiologist told him he was too sick to travel to England for the wedding. Mr. Markle did not, quote, or they should have put it in quotes, did not refuse to attend the wedding, but was instructed by his daughter not to attend the wedding. And just days before the royal wedding, while Mr. Markle was in a hospital bed recovering from his heart surgery, the defendant and Prince Harry sent him hurtful texts scolding him for working with the press rather than conveying their concern for his life-threatening medical condition. Therapy is a really healthy way to deal with family problems. So therapy, maybe. And from what I remember, he was selling stories to the press. Was he selling stories like right after he had these 2 heart attacks? Like, what in time are we dealing with? This is not helpful. This is a whole lot of unhealthy family drama. But what I haven't seen is a lot of defamation. I can't imagine how hurtful it would be to everyone in the family to play all this out in the public, but it's all just playing out in the public. All y'all need therapy. Find a real good therapist and talk to them. Don't spend the money on a lawsuit. We haven't seen any defamation that's really worth any time yet. Don't just go to therapy. Just go to therapy. Just therapy. Oh, good. We're almost to jurisdiction and venue. Thank fucking God. The truths about defendant's life story directly contradicted the false narrative and fairy tale life story fabricated by defendant and widely disseminated through the royal family's powerful public relations operation. Again, challenge. Defendant's intentional campaign to discredit and destroy the reputations and credibility of plaintiff and her father was designed to protect and preserve the false fairy tale life story concocted by defendant. But where's the defamation, bruh? I would like to get to the defamation. I would like to stop talking about how much daddy loves her. Meghan, daddy loves you. Parties, jurisdiction, and venue. This is an action for damages in excess of $75,000. I know that's a jurisdictional amount. I would love to see how that is. As set forth below, plaintiff's state of citizenship, Florida, is diverse from defendant's state of citizenship, California. Great. Plaintiff Markle resides in Lakeland, Florida, and is the half-sister of defendant at the time of the publication of all defamatory statements and communications set forth in this complaint. Plaintiff was a resident and citizen of the state of Florida. As a direct result of defendant's false and defamatory statements published to the worldwide media and the authors of Fighting Freedom, plaintiff has been subject to countless derogatory news articles and regularly receives hateful and violent messages via the internet and social media while a resident in Florida. International Shoe might disagree with you, though, Samantha. Defendant Markle resides in Montecito, California, and is a citizen of California at the time of the publication. Defendant was fully aware that plaintiffs resided and were a citizen in the state of Florida. When the defamatory statements in defendant's email were published to Jason Nuff, defendant intended and had actual knowledge that such defamatory and damaging statements would be published in the book Finding Freedom and disseminated worldwide, including throughout Florida. I don't know if that's going to get us jurisdiction, though. A book published by someone else might not get us jurisdiction in Florida. Why aren't you suing Meghan in California? Hold on. What's the Florida anti-SLAPP statute look like? Give me 1 second. Give us a second. We have some questions. What's the Florida anti-SLAPP statute look like? Because I wonder how much that will play in to this. Let me see. The Institution for Free Speech actually sent me an anti-SLAPP report card in DMs, and I am pulling that up to reference it now. Thank you, Institute for Free Speech, for making me aware of this reference. Let's see what the anti-SLAPP statute looks like in Florida. Why is it yellow? They get a C. California gets an A. This alone might be the reason that this is being filed in California, not in Florida. Because C minus. Let's see. Covered speech. Florida's anti-SLAPP protects statements made before a government entity in connection with an issue under consideration or review by the entity, and statements made in or in connection with a play, movie, television program, radio broadcast, audiovisual work, book, magazine article, musical work, news reporting, or other similar work. The statute does not provide for the stay of discovery. Oh, interesting. In the event of an anti-SLAPP filing. That might be why they filed it in Florida. Although the court must set a hearing on the motion as soon as practicable, the hearing, must be set at the earliest possible time after the filing of the response to the motion. The statute does not describe any special standard of proof that the respondent must meet in order to defeat the anti-SLAPP, nor does it provide for interlocutory appeal of an order granting or denying an anti-SLAPP. The court must award costs of attorney's fees to the prevailing party. Florida statute also affects the rights of litigants in actions between homeowners and homeowners associations. Interesting. So statements made in connection with a play, movie, television program, interview, book. So the email might not count here. I think you could reach and say that the email is in connection with a book and therefore it's covered by this anti-SLAPP statute. But this anti-SLAPP statute doesn't seem as strong or broad as the one in California. So Maybe that's why they chose Florida and didn't just go sue her in California. The non-stay of discovery is really interesting. If you want to get to discovery and get to more emails, suing in Florida is really beneficial because in California, you don't get shit until the anti-SLAPP is settled. And then the case can get completely terminated and attorney's fees are done and no discovery changes hands. That might be why Florida is a choice. I always look at these things like it might just be that she lives in Florida, has an attorney in Florida that she wanted to use, and that's why she filed it in Florida. I think it's going to be hard. I wonder if the anti-SLAPP or the motion to dismiss for jurisdiction will come first. I guess we'll see, because they're going to have to prove that defendant directed the statements at Florida, and we went through that international shoe analysis with regard to YouTube in the Tati Westbrook case. So, all right. Let's see. They say defendant had actual knowledge that her defamatory and hateful statements made in a widely promoted interview would be viewed by millions of people. Well, that I don't doubt. I don't know if that's targeted enough at Florida to meet the standards for jurisdiction. So, let's see. Defendant's false and malicious statements about plaintiff were accessible on network television and the internet. Defendant willfully, purposely, and intentionally directed her defamatory statements at and targeted plaintiff, a Florida resident and citizen. She talked about plaintiff. I don't know if she targeted it at Florida, but we will go through a jurisdiction analysis at another time. I don't know if that's going to be enough of action that Meghan Markle did. Like, she sent an email. She sat down for an Oprah interview also in California. I don't know if that's going to be enough to say that she targeted Florida. I don't. Ugh, we're going to have to do international shoe again. Yay. The defendant is subject to personal jurisdiction in Florida pursuant to Florida statute 48.193(1)(a)(2) because defendant committed intentional torts within the state. She wasn't in Florida when she did any of that stuff. All of those actions occurred outside the state of Florida. I don't think that's going to fly. Furthermore, defendant should have sued her in California, but California has that stronger anti-SLAPP. Furthermore, defendant had sufficient minimum due process contacts with Florida because she didn't publish the statements. Other people published the statements. Meghan Markle didn't publish shit. It's not like she put them out on her own YouTube channel or her own book. She didn't publish. They might argue cause to be published. But like with all cases, when I go through it, I try to look at both sides. And the other side of this is she didn't publish anything because she intentionally published statements with the actual knowledge and intent of causing maximum damage to plaintiff's reputation in the state of Florida and worldwide by intentionally publishing false and defamatory statements about plaintiff and her family with actual knowledge and intent that the statements were false and defamatory. Again, now we're in factual allegations. Oh, good God. So they're going to reiterate everything we just did like a million times before. Good. I think venue is probably proper in Tampa if jurisdiction's proper in Florida. I don't know if jurisdiction's proper in Florida. Defendant's secret shame scheme today. The longer it goes, the worse it gets. The defendant's secret scheme to defame the plaintiff. Is this going to reiterate everything that was reiterated above? Because the introduction didn't need to be the entire factual allegations, but it looks like we're going to get to it. Oh my God, we're only on page 8 of 15. By December 2018, now we know who the author is. Now we get to who authored the book, because at the very beginning of the lawsuit, they indicated defendant authored the book. Omid Scooby and Carolyn Durand, two authors known for reporting on Britain's royal family, were in the process of writing the book Finding Freedom, which is one of the definitive books about Harry and Meghan. Well, why don't you just say that at the beginning then? Upon information and reasonable belief, the authors contacted defendant or her representatives, including Mr. Nuff to obtain information about defendant's life story and childhood. As noted above, Nuff was defendant's PR representative at that time for the specific purpose of responding to the authors with actual knowledge that the information would be published in a best-selling book. Defendant sent a detailed email dated December 18th, 2018 to Nuff containing false and defamatory statements regarding plaintiff and her family. That email might, and we'll go to the email in Exhibit 1, that email might be it depending on what is said in there, because everything else just doesn't seem to be accurate. As stated in or actionable, I should say. As stated in defendant's email to her PR representative, when you sit down with them, it may be helpful to have some background reminders, so I've included them below. See Exhibit 1. Should we just go look at Exhibit 1 now? I feel like maybe we should. Let's go. Oh, no, they're going to get into the more detailed statements. Okay, well, good. Well, then why spend multiple pages on an introduction that doesn't clearly lay out the story if you're going to do it again in the factual allegations? This is why first looks are hard, but also first looks are delightful. Let's see. They say defendant had actual knowledge and the intent that false information she provided to Nuff would be communicated to the authors and published globally. In the book, defendant was aware that it was reasonably foreseeable that defendant's email itself would be leaked to the public since such things were common and regular as a member of the royal family. I mean, emails are not private. As intended, the false and defamatory statements in defendant's email were communicated to the authors in December 2018. 18, 19, 20. We might be outside of the statute of limitations on that, though. Well, they could try to argue discovery and that they didn't discover the email to the court case, but defendant's email itself was published worldwide on the internet in November 2021. Okay. Defendant intentionally and with actual malice published. Defendant didn't publish anything. Defendant intentionally and with actual malice published the following false defamatory statements with full knowledge of the falsity thereto. Are they calling the email publishing? Because you have to publish a statement, but are they calling the email publishing? Because she didn't publish the other one. How are we going to get there? Samantha dropped out of high school. Is this a defamatory statement that we're suing on? Because is this reputationally damaging? I don't know. This is false. In her attempt to discredit Samantha, Meghan implies, well, does she imply or does she state it? Implies that Samantha is an uneducated high school dropout, but the truth is that Samantha was seriously injured from a fall from a rope swing, resulting in paralysis on her left side and blindness in one eye at that time. And she was then diagnosed with MS. Samantha missed school due to the paralysis, blindness, and MS diagnosis. Samantha completed high school and has earned 2 degrees, including a master's degree in mental health counseling / vocational rehabilitation counseling. Again, as we're looking at this from a defamatory, like, is it defamatory? Is the implication that she dropped out of high school false if she did in fact drop out of high school because of all of those injuries and then went on to finish and complete high school in another way? Like, is it really false or is it misleading? And is that going to be enough? And is that damaging when she has earned a master's degree in mental health counseling and vocational rehabilitation counseling? I don't know. So she missed school due to paralysis. Did she drop out and then complete high school later? Meghan saw Samantha only a handful of times, and Meghan has never had a relationship with either of them. How is that defamatory? This is false. Okay, well, just because it's false doesn't mean it's defamation. How is that reputationally damaging? Samantha spent time with defendant on a regular basis throughout her childhood and even lived in the same apartment house with defendant for a period of time. Samantha picked up Meghan from school and took Meghan for ice cream and the mall regularly and spent many family holidays with the defendant. Meghan's father was Meghan's primary caregiver, and Meghan and Samantha saw each other regularly. I'm missing how this is defamatory. I'm missing it. Meghan visited Samantha in Virginia and attended Samantha's college graduation in New Mexico in 2008. Okay. And spoke on the phone and exchanged emails. And Meghan even called Samantha from the green room when Meghan was a briefcase model on the television show Deal or No Deal. Okay. This is an attempt by Meghan to create the false impression that Meghan was essentially an only child with no contact with her family members, or that Meghan, or as Meghan stated on Oprah, that she had, quote, no siblings. Okay, so do you want to just call Meghan a liar? Because just call her a liar then. But how is it defamatory? How has this damaged the sister? Again, hurt feelings is not going to be enough for defamation. I want everyone to just go directly to therapy. This all doesn't need to be aired. I mean, apparently it all needs to be aired publicly. All right. I think they're trying to go with, well, I guess when we get down to their charges, we'll see what they're going with, but it feels like they're going in this route of defamation by false impression, but I don't know if it's going to be, where is the damage? Your feelings, by the way, feelings might be hurt by everyone in this family. Look, familial relations can be really fucking tough. Fair. Feelings might be hurt, opinions might be had, but it doesn't mean it's defamatory for a civil action. Your feelings are not the damage that counts here. Riley, yes, I had no idea Meghan was a briefcase model. I didn't know either. We're all learning together. So they're saying this is an attempt by Meghan to create a false impression that Meghan was essentially an only child. And again, what was actually said? Okay. Upon Meghan dating Harry, Samantha changed her last name back to Markle. This is false. Samantha's surname from birth is Markle, and Markle was always her maiden name. Samantha has been married twice and went by Samantha Grant and Samantha Rasmussen while married. Again, I can only pronounce that because I grew up with somebody named Rasmussen. While married, but she never stopped using her maiden name, Markle. This is an effort by Meghan to discredit Samantha by falsely stating that Samantha changed her name to cash in on Meghan's name once she started dating Harry. Okay, so when did she change her name after the divorce? Because it could be factually half-half. Also, is the damage kind of calling Samantha a clout chaser? Is that what we're saying the damage is here? Samantha began a career creating stories to sell the press. This is false. Samantha never created any story to sell the press. Do you consider writing a book? Y'all tell me, do you consider writing a book creating a story? Because creating a story doesn't necessarily imply that the story is false. Samantha never created any stories to sell the press. In fact, the media has contacted and harassed Samantha on a constant basis, and she agreed to be interviewed in order to defend herself from the false stories regularly published in the media. Okay, I don't know if that's defamatory, though. Samantha had lost custody of all three children. That could be reputationally damaging. I could see. I don't know if the clout chasing one is. I could see how the other one, how lost custody of all three children could be reputationally damaging in a professional setting. This is false. Samantha never lost custody of any of her children. This is Meghan trying to destroy Samantha's credibility and reputation because a mother must be doing something very wrong to lose custody of her children. I think that would, I don't know if they're going to be able to prove damage, but if she did lose custody of her children, that would again be easy to prove. They said Samantha had three children from three different fathers. Again, in some states, promiscuity is defamation per se. I don't know if there will be. I will look at Florida. They say this is false. Samantha has been married twice and has three children. As one reporter noted, this is Meghan's attempt to quote unquote slut shame Samantha and further destroy her credibility and reputation. Footnote 5. There's a footnote. Where's the footnote? There it is. As discussed in the article attached to Exhibit 6, this slander by Meghan is commonly referred to as slut shaming. Well, you have to go on and define slut shaming. Where's the definition of slut shaming and a link to where it's defined? You have to define that for the court. Don't assume that the court knows these things. Samantha brokered press deals for her father. This is false. There has never been an interview, statement, or any sort of quote-unquote press deal that was brokered or set up or that went through Samantha. Samantha never received one penny from an interview with her father. I guess brokering implies that. Ugh. Samantha never received one penny from an interview. Again, Meghan is attempting to discredit Samantha by suggesting she was selling stories or selling access to her father. The above referenced false and defamatory statements and implications contained in defendant's email were communicated by her public relations representative. I don't know if all of these are going to be actionable. I really don't. I really don't. Let's see. I don't know about the changing the name. The impression is that she's clout chasing. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Samantha lost custody of all 3 of her children, maybe, because that could be reputationally damaging, especially in a professional way. But again, it also could be, we'll see. Samantha began a career creating stories to sell the press. Even if it's false, I don't know if that's going to be maybe it's reputationally damaging. I don't know how they're going to prove the damage there. 3 children from 3 different fathers. Again, promiscuity can be defamation per se. Upon Meghan dating Harry, Samantha changed her last name. If those things happened close in time because she was changing it after her divorce and it was mischaracterized, I don't know if that's going to fly. So these are saying that all of these in the email were the problem and they were the basis of the chapter. The following false and defamatory implication statements appeared in Finding Freedom, which was published and sold globally beginning in August 2020. Have they sued the authors of the book? Because I feel like they probably haven't, because I haven't seen that anywhere. They said Meghan had crossed paths with Samantha only twice since growing up. Is it reputationally damaging? There was only one picture of Samantha and Meghan. If there were more, Samantha would have sold them. That sounds like opinion. If there were more, Samantha would have sold them. But okay, Samantha reached out to The Sun with her story about how snagging a royal had been Meghan's lifelong ambition. This is false. Samantha never contacted The Sun. Okay, so did they contact her? Samantha was paid handsomely by The Sun. This is false. Is handsomely the false part, or was she never paid? Samantha was not invited to Meghan's first wedding. This is false. Samantha was invited. Really? Samantha not being invited to the wedding is what we're considering defamatory in this lawsuit right now? Really? We're arguing in a lawsuit about whether her half-sister was invited to her wedding or not? Really? Because I don't think we're going to get there on that. Just what? And even if there are a few narrowly tailored claims that they might be able to keep fighting on, that's not one of them. This is false. Samantha was invited, but the wedding was in Jamaica. Samantha was confined to a wheelchair due to MS. She had a young daughter and she was in school at the time. For these reasons, she was unable to attend. We're fighting over whether or not she was invited to the first wedding. Okay. Meghan asked her father to intervene with Samantha. This is false. Meghan never requested such an intervention. How do you know that? Meghan might have requested father intervene, and father later said, no, I'm not. Nope. No such conversation ever occurred. Okay. Depositions on this are going to be fascinating if it gets that far. Samantha's father told her, what you're doing is hurting your sister. This is false. No such conversation occurred between Samantha and her father. And the above statements independently and taken together in defendant's email and the best-selling book caused substantial and irreparable prejudice, injury, and harm to defendant's reputation to a substantial, sizable, and appreciable fraction of the relevant community, which is going to go directly, that language is likely, that's not just the way to word things, that's likely going to go directly to what Florida's statute says. As a direct result of defendant's false and defamatory statements disseminated to the authors of Finding Freedom, well, no, they were sent to the one dude who then sent them to the authors. Plaintiff regularly receives hateful emails and messages on a regular basis, and her reputation has been so damaged she has been unable to work in her chosen profession. So that they are going to have to prove, which will be interesting. As just one example, plaintiff was forced to seek and obtain an injunction for protection against stalking in Florida against one of defendant's zealous fans. That's not defendant's fault, though. 6, although plaintiff's legal name is Samantha Markle, the injunction was... What? The injunction action was filed under the name Samantha Rasmussen in an effort to avoid further unwanted publicity associated with her legal name Markle that was generating so many hateful and threatening messages. That doesn't make any sense. Like, that explanation doesn't make any sense, because you can't enjoin someone from stalking you in a legal document if you don't put your name on it, which indicates to me that maybe plaintiff's legal name had Rasmussen in it too, which is going to come up. This family feud is a mess. This family feud is a mess. Also, I've now got a lot of questions about Samantha's name, and when it was changed. Lots of questions. I'm very curious. Defendant's false and malicious statements in the widely promoted Oprah interview on March 17th, 2021, or sorry, March 7th. See, the 17 countries right below it just interposed itself into there. Chat, you guys, I'm living. Chris H said, Exhibit F, she borrowed my sweater without asking and said she didn't, but there was a huge mustard stain and she talked about having hot dogs at the mall. It feels that way. It feels that way. I don't really care one way or the other in this case. I just haven't seen statements that you're like, yep, that's going to be actionable and defamatory. Maybe on the promiscuity, depending on Florida's law on defamation per se. But even then, man, it is tough. These statements are, hey, I'm mad that you said this about me. This is shitty, but it doesn't mean that it's defamatory. And Meryl's in the chat said, it sounds very Kim, people are dying to me. Oh, you guys are giving me with the pop culture references. All right, let's see what other defamatory statements they're pulling out. During the interview, in a calculated effort to damage and discredit plaintiff in her published autobiography, defendant falsely stated, and her autobiography, defendant stated that 1, she was an only child, 2, she last saw plaintiff 18 or 19 years ago, and then 10 years before that. Plaintiff only changed her name to Markle in her early 50s when Meghan started dating Prince Harry. Again, if it's false, assuming that it's false, I don't know how it's defamatory. Defendant made these false and derogatory statements with actual malice. And okay, so they are assuming, or at least arguing, or acknowledging that Samantha might be a limited purpose public figure with relation to her sister. So they are putting in the specific intent and the actual malice, which is needed when you're dealing with a public figure or limited purpose public figure, and acknowledging that that might be the case here. So it's interesting. I was wondering how they were going to address whether or not she was a public figure, but she's written a book about her sister. So I believed she was at least a limited purpose public figure with relation to talking about her sister. And with that, when you are a public figure, you have to prove actual malice. saying that she had the specific intent to destroy plaintiff's reputation and credibility and to preserve and protect defendant's false narrative about her childhood and fairy tale life story. As just one example of defendant's malice and hatred toward plaintiff, the defendant demanded that her father, Thomas Markle, terminate his relationship with plaintiff and disown her if he wishes to continue having a relationship with plaintiff. That is giving family drama. I don't know. I need more context for if that's going to matter. Okay. Count 1, defamation. Plaintiff realleges all the shit above. The defendant's statements in Meghan's email. Well, in defendant's email. The defendant's statements in defendant's email to Nuff, the best-selling book and the Oprah interview and the worldwide. What? Okay. The defendant's statements in Meghan's email to Nuff, the best-selling book Finding Freedom, the Oprah interview, and the worldwide media are false and defamatory. That's real vague. Defendant made, published, and disseminated such statements with actual malice. I'm going to have to look at disseminating a little bit more in Florida and I'm very curious on the case law with regard to statements made to third parties and then re-reported. I'm very curious. The statements are defamatory in that they prejudiced, harmed, and injured plaintiff's reputation and exposed her to hatred, ridicule, or contempt. It'll be interesting to see it'll be interesting to parse the hatred, ridicule, or contempt, because if hatred, ridicule, and contempt are part of, and I'm guessing they are part of the Florida statute just based on the way this is worded, she may be able to show, if she has a stalker that is like, fuck you for what you said to Meghan, that's going to go towards showing the hatred, ridicule, and contempt, and that perhaps the statements are connected. They're going to have to show that they're connected. It'll be interesting to see what else they bring up with the, I don't know, the ridicule on social media and stuff, because there's some of that just comes with being a public figure that might not have been invoked by Meghan Markle saying she's an only child, and these statements. It'll be interesting to show or see how they prove that further than what they've said here. We know what they're saying about the statements being published. Plaintiff has suffered actual damages in the form of lost employment. It'll be interesting to see what that is. Lost income from sales of her autobiography. I don't know how they're going to measure that and prove it. Emotional and mental distress. Like, if this is going to end up being some trillery stuff with trying to show that the negative reviews in the App Store actually hurt the sales. Like, if the sales weren't made, how do you prove that a prospective customer didn't purchase the autobiography because of these statements? I don't know how they're going to prove that. Emotional and mental distress, including anxiety and fear due to threatening and violent emails. Count 2, defamation by implication. Hold on, I just want to see. Well, there's no IIED claim. There's defamation and defamation by implication, but there's no intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress, which is interesting. Because if they're saying that this has caused emotional distress, could they prove, I mean, I'm guessing not, but could they prove that those statements were made intentionally? They keep alleging it, but they didn't bring that other cause of action, which is interesting. All right, defamation by implication. All of the above, the false statements made in all the places above. Among other things, defendant's false statements create the defamatory implication that plaintiff had no relationship with her sister Meghan. No. The implication that she didn't have a relationship with her sister is not going to get us there for defamation. And that plaintiff has created a lucrative career selling false stories to the tabloids and television programs when she knows nothing about defendant's childhood. Maybe, because if she's trying to say, well, I'm an author, but was she an author before her sister married Prince Harry? Was that, I mean, we went on Amazon. That seems to be the only book. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know if that's a true statement. Or if that's a false implication outside of opinion. I I don't know if that's gonna I don't know if that's gonna get there. Defendant engaged in such defamatory by implication. Defendant engaged in such defamatory by implication, defamation by implication, defamation by implication. Defendant engaged in such defamation by implication conduct, knowingly, intentionally, and with actual malice, fully aware she was doing with a plan to damage, injure, and harm plaintiff's reputation. The defamation by implication statements, in fact, severely damaged plaintiff by way of the same things above, published in the same places above, published in the book, published in the email, published in the Oprah interview, and throughout the worldwide media, just all other shit too, just because. Suffered actual damages, demanding a judgment for compensatory and punitive damages against defendant. Let's look. Wait, damn it. Why aren't the exhibits attached? Boo. Boo. Let me grab them real quick. I need the exhibits. How did I only download this without the exhibits? That's so annoying. Sorry, y'all. I'm annoying myself at the moment. I want to see that email real quick because that's all of us are like, but what about the email? I don't know, you guys. First look on this lawsuit. Like there's a lot of reaching. We do, Chelsea, we do. We want prenup. We want exhibits. There's a lot of reaching that's going to have to happen. I need to look at some of the defamation by implication cases in the state of Florida because I just don't know how we're getting there on she's an only child. Like really? We've seen so many different types of defamation cases that defamation sent in an email conveyed to an author. It's a different way round. So it is going to be interesting for us to parse the legal implications of this case. This will be a legally interesting case to go through. A lot, so much. So much of this lawsuit is shade. Like so much of it reads to me like, fuck you. You said this about me. Look at what I'm going to say about you. That's how it reads to me. I would love to know what your take on it. At the end of the day, really am not bothered by each of them. So when I read the lawsuit from a plaintiff, look, it's the plaintiff's side of allegations and shade. And I try to look for, okay, well, but what's the other side of that? And when we read the answer, we're going to read the answer and go, okay, but what's the other side of that? But this one is a reach for me. So we've got exhibits. Now we have exhibits. We have a lot of exhibits. We're not going to get to all the exhibits, but let's download all of them. Come on, download the documents. I can't believe I missed the rest of them, but it's just a mess. It makes me sad. It's familial stuff that's just kind of a mess, but it's not clean, clear-cut defamation. We've talked about defamation of celebrities in the Cardi B case so much, and it is so clear-cut. It's like, look, here it is. She said you had a disease. She said you were this. She said you were that. It was much more clear-cut than this is. This is definitely not the most clear-cut case we have seen. It's just not. So let me do the uploading thing so we can pull all these up, and then I will condense them into one PDF later. Like, I don't need to do all of that right now. Well, we are on live. We're here live. I am not a cat. I am not loving this case. It is not readily apparent that there are statements that are cleanly and easily like, oh, if that's not true, like if that's false, then that's defamatory. These are very difficult statements to parse from opinion. And it also, context is very much going to matter. I need to go back and find find the interview and look at some of those interview statements, because it's like, well, I grew up basically like an only child is different. Saying I grew up like an only child when you have a sibling so much older and you live in two households, in one household where I think she's the only child of her mother, is not going to be defamatory towards her sister. And okay. Okay. So let's see. Let's see the email. Oh, good. They redacted it. Yay. Exhibit 1. December 10th, 2018. Jason to, well, this is from Jason to M, Harry, Samantha, Ari, the book. Very helpful. Thank you. Also shows we've been on exactly the same page, which is good. This is from M, December 10th, 18. Hi, Jason. Thanks very much for the info below. For when you sit down with them, it may be helpful to have some background reminders, so I've included them below just in case. I know you are better versed at this than most, but assisting where I can, I appreciate your support. Please let me know if you need me to fill in any other blanks. Thank you. Let's see. Family. M's relationship with half siblings, including date and timing questions. They were teenagers when they moved into her parents' home prior to Meghan being born. Doria left Tom when Meghan was 2 years old, moved to the other side of town, 45 minutes away. His older children were 15 and 17. Tom Jr. and Samantha dropped out of high school and moved out of their father's home at the same year. Well, I mean, she does say that. I just don't know if it's like, is it reputationally damaging? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. With a 16-year age gap between Meghan being a baby, there was minimal interaction. Oh, sorry. And with a 16-year age gap and Meghan being a baby, there was minimal interaction. I mean, okay. Meghan saw them a handful of times when she was under the age of 5, and then again when she was 11. She didn't see her half sister again until her father asked her to attend Samantha's graduation in New Mexico when Meghan was 22. She saw her for one day and hasn't seen her since. Okay. Upon Meghan dating Harry, Samantha changed her last name back to Markle and began a career creating stories to sell to the press. She had lost custody of all 3 children from different fathers, and through the press had been back briefed about the non-relationship with Meghan. They continue to give her media opportunities. I don't know what back briefed mean, but okay. So the lost custody, if not true, I could see how that could be reputationally and professionally damaging. Uh-oh, did I freeze? Uh-oh. We froze. Apologies. That was weird. I could see how lost custody of 3 children from different fathers, if not true, again, if false, could be reputationally damaging. Began a career creating stories to sell to the press. I'm at least encouraged to see that these statements seem to be taken directly from the email, which is helpful. It seems that the context is the context is the context. This timing might not be defamatory. This might be changed her last name back to Markle, which again is left out of the underlying lawsuit. They didn't say Meghan said she changed her name back to Markle. That timing might be coincidental to a divorce. So the context of somebody reaching the conclusion, I don't know if that's going to be defamatory. I just don't know if that's going to be defamatory. I don't even know if jury would find that defamatory. I really don't. The lost custody, maybe more so. Let's see. The began a career creating stories to sell to the press. Maybe. I mean, it's going to be a reach, because if she sold any stories to the press, is it completely false to say she began a career creating stories to sell? I mean, how do you define creating? Oh, hey, we did this, we did that. Retelling stories, that's going to be splitting hairs too much for most jurors, because it might be partially true. And if it's partially true, then probably not defamatory. They say Meghan last saw Tom Jr. at their grandmother's funeral approximately 10 years ago. Meghan was her primary caregiver and took care of her in the final years of her life. Meghan has never had a relationship with either of them. She was always referred to as an only child by both of her parents and all of her friends throughout their entire upbringing because the half siblings were not in the picture by their own choice. Okay. There's been no communication or outreach. Meghan has never known their birth dates or middle names and vice versa. The family was raised very estranged, and the profile of Meghan's relationship created an opportunity for all of the Markles. All of these facts can be validated by anyone who has known Meghan since childhood or afterwards. Family, relationship with family and father, past and present. They were close most of her life, which is what the lawsuit says too. Meghan supported her father in spite of his reluctativeness, as evidenced by the article she wrote about him for Father's Day on her now defunct website, The Tig. Media pressure crumbled him, and he began doing press deals brokered by his daughter, Samantha. I don't know if that's going to be defamatory, the brokered. Despite countless efforts to support him throughout the past years, they now no longer have a relationship. Again, that doesn't go to the defamatory statements of the sister. H's November 2016 statement, very turbulent time, exacerbated by media interest propelled by Samantha Markle. Meghan was living alone in Toronto and working, and her house was swarmed by paparazzi and journalists. She was chased off roads when driving. She received a father threat. There was massive interest, and with very little support, police were called many times. Decision was made to draw the line in the sand. Families are allowed to set boundaries. First appearance at Invictus 2017. Not sure what background they want for this. Engagement proposal announcement, wedding background, dealing with the media during Thomas Markle situation, Nottingham College, future apartment. Okay, let's see. Why is the former royal aide Jason Nuff giving evidence against Meghan Markle now? So this is probably their basis for the way they characterized his perception based on this media article. And anything else that wants to load? Meghan Markle's text to aide over letter to her father made public in court documents. I will go through and look at all of these. And if you guys want this lawsuit, I will make it downloadable. I'll condense all of these and make it downloadable if you want to go through and look at what they've added, because I think that might help. I'm not going to read through all of these articles, because again, a lot of this doesn't go to the defamation. What came out in the court in London is going to be very relevant, because if she made those statements in an email, then some of those might be actionable. They are not clean and easy statements. And it'll be very interesting to see what happens in the anti-SLAPP and to see what the other side has to say about whether these statements are actionable defamation. It's just a lot. And it reads like a family mess to me. I just wonder what precipitated filing this and what is going on that precipitated filing this. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It's going to be legally interesting. And we will need to take a look at defamation by implication in Florida a little bit more now that we are done with this first look. I'm going to get through some of our questions real quick. I have questions. I'm sure you have questions. This is not a great defamation lawsuit. I'm not going to say it's completely going to lose everything. It throws a lot of spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. There are a lot of statements in there that I'm like, I don't think those are going to fly at all. But when you do a motion to dismiss or an anti-SLAPP, it can be partially granted, where you can get some of the statements thrown out and some of the statements remain, because again, a jury will have to decide. It's not a clean and easy, hey, prove if this is true or not true. I think the emails, and again, defamation conveyed to one person can be enough in some cases, not always enough to prove damages. But then when that person is known to be conveying it to authors of a book, you know it's going to be published. And that will be very interesting to look at defamation through the lens of statements given to somebody else, knowing that they are going to be published. I also don't know if they're going to have jurisdiction in Florida. So we might not even get to that until they sort out jurisdiction, because Markle might try to push this in. Well, Meghan Markle might try to push this into California that has a stronger anti-SLAPP to prevent it from going to discovery first, because it can take the knees out of a lawsuit if you can't even get to discovery. And all they have to rebut the anti-SLAPP is what they filed. You don't get any more discovery in California. In Florida, discovery keeps going. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with jurisdiction, if there's an anti-SLAPP, if there's a motion to dismiss, and what statements remain at the end of the day. Some of these are opinion statements, and it's like, this is not happening. Some of them, there are questions on them. And just because, again, I don't consider them reputationally damaging doesn't mean that the law might not consider it reputationally damaging. And she is alleging that she has lost work because of these things. Hopefully one could back up the shit that they say in their lawsuit, and this will be very interesting to see. I see it. I didn't realize that Meghan Markle was quite so controversial. It's a lawsuit between siblings. That's it. It's a lot of mud slung at the wall. Some of those statements are just not going to be defamatory. They're just not. Some of them may be, but it's not clean cut to be like, oh shit, well, there you go. It's not that, this is not going to be that easy. I know that Meghan Markle's attorney has come out and made a statement that this whole lawsuit is a whole steaming pile of BS, and we will see what they choose to file next. It's going to take a little bit of time for that to happen, though. So let us swoop and go to questions, and then I'm going to scoot. I want to go see what Apple did. Me, I'm not going to go long. Also me, here forever. I didn't think that was going to take so long to get through. It took a while because we definitely diverted. So let's get to questions real quick. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for being law nerds. We're going to get to some of the super chats first, now that I can save them and bring them up later. All right. More than enough. I am from Montgomery County and a Temple University alum. Castor is a clown. I don't know who Castor is. Who are we? What were we talking? Are we talking about Cosby? I'm not sure. Thank you for the super chat. Captain Wee the Barmy, Baldwin acting like a prick. Just pun it, star if somebody tries to swear, but only knows really weak cuss words. It's not profamatory. That's amateur fainty. I think so. I think I got that right, Captain Wee the Barmy. But yes, Baldwin was acting like a prick. I agree. Emily D. Baker, isn't all those lies Meghan has said important to the lawsuit to show Meghan's character? I think they are trying to take digs at her. That is stuff that can come up, but we're not at the point of judging character. The plaintiff has to prove the statements are false, because they have to be a false statement for them to be defamatory. The truth is not defamatory. But saying Meghan lied about all this stuff doesn't follow ipso facto that then all these other statements are a lie. It's not like in a defamation case, you can't be like, this person's a lying liar that lies, therefore this statement's defamatory. The person might be a lying liar that lies, but you have to look statement by statement and see if that statement is. When they get to trial, it might matter. I just don't see how it's relevant on the face of this lawsuit, but I also understand that lawsuits are allegations and shade, and some of this might be, there seems to be a lot of frustration and hostility here. It might just be like, no, fuck it. I'm putting all of this in a lawsuit. I get to say what I want to say, and this is what I want to say, and I don't care. Nah. And that might be what it is. This Samantha Markle suit is PR. Yep. She's just trying to get on record all of the lies Meghan has tells, but I don't think it's defamation. And it's a really, really fair point that it's like, look, she lies about shit. I don't give a fuck. Where's the defamation? Is saying that she was an only child defamatory? Show me how. Tell me why. I just don't see, I just don't see it. I'm curious what the rest of LawTube has to think about an only child being defamatory. It's I just don't see it. Snow White, thank you for the question. If the Maxwell juror results in a retrial, why did we not see the same in the Chauvin trial, which also had a juror that lied? Can you differentiate as to why one would matter but not the other? In the Chauvin trial, I don't know if there was a motion brought. I just don't remember that clearly. I can go back and look at what the difference is, but if there was a motion brought, I would look at the judge's ruling and then break down the judge's ruling. Also, it depends on what the matter was. I remember in the Chauvin trial, there was a photo of a juror that came up later where they said they hadn't been at a protest and then they had been at a protest, but it also goes judge by judge. And I also don't know if that's something that the defense made a motion to dismiss based on that later discovered evidence. And if the defense did make a motion to dismiss on that later discovered evidence, what happened from there, I just don't remember that clearly, but I would need to go back and look, and I can go back and look to differentiate the two, but it goes court by court, and the defense attorneys have to make the motion and ask for it. And then if they get denied, they can take it up on appeal. I think there are Chauvin appeals. I just don't know if any of them are related to the juror. Allie Jones said, yes, they are. Meghan got the prints and people are angry. I mean, there's a lot of vitriol with, which I just don't 100% understand. I mean, all of this seems like a mess. And with all of it seeming like a mess, it just kind of makes me sad because they are, at the end of the day, it is a family that is having to parse all of this out in the media, which is just, So Sky Bloom, I don't know. I haven't gotten to see it yet. I've been streaming. Susie said, oh my God, stuck on Baldwin triggered. I mean, yeah. Captain We the Barmy, it's not you. It's that I'm reading it at the end of like 2.5 hours of streaming and my brain stops. So it's sometimes they are hard for me to parse. Apologies. I can't always parse things. It's hard when live streaming. It's not always easy. So let me see what else. I don't know. I just don't know about this defamation, guys. I see a whole lot of cheese and not a lot of burger. We might have like a full-size bun and a lot of cheese and like a slider stuck in there. I don't think we're going to have, I just, all of those statements are not defamatory. And the ones that are like, is not where you want to be on your filing. Panda says Meghan is extremely controversial in the UK. The media coverage of her there was very different to the US coverage. That's where the hate comes from. Panda, thank you. I appreciate that. I do not much follow what the UK press says. So, Meghan is hugely controversial. People in Britain feel very strongly indifferent. And that's, again, feelings are feelings. However, we have to parse the feelings out from this being Meghan Markle versus her sister and be like, which is hard because of the context, but be like, if somebody said this about somebody else, is it defamatory in this context? Taking out the fact that the figures might be controversial, that people might not like the individuals. I don't really like Meghan Markle, don't like Meghan Markle, doesn't really matter. It doesn't change whether the things that were said are in fact defamatory. I think the email is probably the best evidence that they have at this point. It's going to be very interesting to see if any of those statements are going to I don't clearly see defamation on those, but I'm also not going to sit here and just be like, this whole case is crap, throw it out. This whole thing's shit, just throw it out. I want to see what the reply is. I want to see how the defense, Meghan Markle, legally parse whether those statements are true or false or defamatory. I very, very much want to see that. So I want to see how they lawyer it. And it's going to be very interesting. There are interesting questions of law that will be raised if we get that far. Or this is all for PR and they're hoping to just settle and be like, fuck it. I just wanted to say what I wanted to say. Now I've said my piece, because you can get sued for what you say in a book. You can't get sued for defamation for what you say in a lawsuit. And it might just be that was the goal of the lawsuit, is to say all this shit in a public forum. I don't think that's a proper use of the courts. I think a lot of those statements don't reach the level of being defamatory, even though they may be hurtful, but we'll see. This is a great question, Annie. Can Cardi B get Tasha K's income from YouTube or Patreon? Yes. I read someone got money from Cash App account because this guy, Rapper the Game, didn't want to pay. Yes, they can. I'm not sure about the Rapper the Game situation, but you can attach earnings. It takes a while to perfect a judgment and attach earnings, but you can. That case, I mean, when we go from like the Cardi B case to this, you see the broad and wide spectrum of defamation. It's like, okay. I mean, is calling someone an only child, is saying that you're an only child defamatory to someone who says that who is your half sibling? And the email said basically an only child or grew up as an only child. And is that defamatory? I'm going to go with a big old no. In the context of that person trying to sell a book, is it defamatory? It's not. I don't know. I don't think the implication that they weren't half siblings because she grew up like an only child when her sibling's so much older is going to ever be defamatory. I just don't see it. And some of the other statements I don't see either, but the losing custody of children, I don't even know about the dropping out of high school, but the losing custody of children and stuff are things that could be reputationally damaging, showing that somebody is irresponsible, showing somebody, giving the implication that someone has something much deeper going on where they can't even have custody of their kids. But that also might be parsing down the middle. If somebody doesn't have physical custody of their children during a divorce proceeding, is that really like losing custody of your kids? And that's where defamation by implication gets really, really muddy and difficult to parse. Madeline said, unsure if this has been answered, but would they want to do a motion to dismiss based on jurisdiction first? Because would doing the anti-SLAPP motion first imply jurisdiction? Madeline, this is a great question. And yes, doing the anti-SLAPP first would imply jurisdiction, but this can be governed by local rules, jurisdiction by jurisdiction on how they want to do it. But yes, they might be able to make both at the same time. They might need to do jurisdiction first. I would think as a matter of course, you would attack jurisdiction first if you're inclined to. But depending on the money you want to spend on litigation, you could just see jurisdiction going, we're going to win on the anti-SLAPP, which we saw in the Romeo Lacoste Keemstar case. Like, I don't think Romeo Lacoste had jurisdiction in California to sue Keemstar, who's in New York. Romeo Lacoste did it anyway, and Keemstar's attorneys were like, sweet, the anti-SLAPP here's baller, so fuck it. SLAPP, and they won on the anti-SLAPP. So why waste the money to do a motion regarding jurisdiction and maybe put yourself in a worse position? So if Meghan Markle's attorneys feel that the anti-SLAPP in Florida is sufficient for what they need, they might just not fuck with it, even if they can. And that's part of litigation strategy, is just because you can doesn't mean you should. So it'll be interesting to see what they choose to do. Yeah. So Shaylin said, I had a half brothers and steps, but am my mom's only child and grew up that way. And that's the thing too. She is her mom's only child. So it's this splitting hairs. Even if it made it to a jury, I don't think a jury's going to feel like, oh, that's defamatory. I just don't. Sorry, my ear is just itching me today. Life with Megs, love your top minded. I never mind sharing. Always assume Target. And this came from Target. I love it. I've never seen another sweatshirt like it there, and it was probably a few years old. I do not buy clothes regularly. Sneakers, yes. Clothes, no. So these are my monkeys said, oh, she is an only child. She is the only child for her mother at the very least. Right. And a jury's not going to parse that. So, Emily, have you heard about the Cain Vasquez case, Velzquez case? I'm not going to pronounce that right at all. I'm going with Vasquez. That's probably wrong because there's an L there. I know you've said you're an MMA fan. I haven't seen it, but I will look. I am an MMA fan. I have not caught up on MMA in way too long. Seychel said, my stepsister and I had an estranged relationship like this until we both had therapy. We have finally reconnected at 38 after losing contact at 20. Lawsuits are not where family therapy should be. No, lawsuits are not a substitute for family therapy at all. It seems like there's a lot of hurt all the way around. And it also seems like the perceptions on both sides are, you know, it seems from the lawsuit, this is my perception of other people's perceptions, aka speculation. It seems that Meghan Markle has said, and even in that email, my family is making money off of my name. I don't know if that's untrue. It seems that they've been paid for interviews, etc. And it seems like the family is saying, we got thrust into the spotlight because of your life choices and you're mischaracterizing what growing up was like, and our feelings are very hurt. It seems like there's a lot of hurt to go around. I just don't know if it's civilly actionable hurt feelings. It seems like therapy for everything. So let's see. Rev, we're going with that. Plus, everyone knows she has siblings. I have half siblings, but they didn't grow up with my quote, whole sister and me. Right. It is just families can be messy and difficult, but yeah. Pete K, thank you in the chat for telling me what the case was about. Well, I'll take a look. That might be a tough one. Sandy is going to be the last question, and then I'm going to say goodbye. Question, how did we place at the Pinewood Derby? I will need to share it on the community tab. G came in third for style and second for speed, and I will share. I forgot, I only shared that, I think, on Instagram and more in depth on Patreon. So I will make sure to share it in the community tab here too. He was thrilled with his performance, and then we celebrated Travis's birthday, and it's been a very, very busy week. So that's it. Allie said, how is it defamatory if it's true? It's not. It's not defamatory if it's true. And that's where we're getting into these defamation with implication. Is the implication there of like, oh, well, you're an only child, not an only child. It's just a mess. I really think that the narrow statements about losing custody could maybe be there. So that's the one thing I will kind of be focusing on. The other stuff, a lot of it is stupid. So that's where we're at. I don't doubt that the hurt feelings are real. I just don't know if they're civilly actionable. I hope everyone finds some therapy and some healing. I think they just wanted to be like, Meghan lied about shit. Okay. But did she lie about you in a way that actually damaged your reputation or not? And was it the sister's book that put her in the spotlight and put her in the crosshairs of those that like Meghan Markle more than it was Meghan's own statements? I don't know. And that's something that is a very real consideration. If this goes to a jury, they're going to dig into the sister's book and be like, you put the target on your own back here with what you've put out in the media. So let's look at you too. And that is going to be a mess. So we'll see how far this gets. I'm interested to see what Meghan Markle's attorneys choose to do next. And we will continue to parse the legal on this and learn how to separate the legal from the people, because the legality and the morality are different, and how we feel about people and their lawsuits are different. Again, I do not like anything that Ghislaine Maxwell did. Awful. Don't need to embellish. It doesn't mean that it's okay that her constitutional rights seem to have been infringed upon by a juror not being honest. And that is the hard stuff to parse. And clearly that's going to be harder to parse than I imagined in this Meghan Markle lawsuit, because there is a lot of feelings on both sides about this. And the parties have a lot of feelings about this. But what we need to figure out is where name calling is hurtful versus where name calling and saying stuff about each other is actionable. And that is what's going to be really important here. And that's why sometimes it's hard to cover the lawsuit without covering the answer. So when we cover the answer, we are going to see the other side of it. And with that, I am going to say good night and goodbye. I will be sharing where I will be streaming for International Women's Day. I really shouldn't have covered a lawsuit with two women just trying to tear after each other in the press on International Women's Day. Hindsight's 2020. But I was hoping there would be something there that we would be able to parse. Hopefully we were able to parse it. So enjoy learning how to separate facts and feelings. It's not easy. It's very difficult, and we will see what the facts are. A lot of the facts are in that email, and we will go into the rest of the exhibits later. I will pull into them, and yep. All right. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much. Stay hydrated, mind your business. Thanks for being a law nerd. A huge thank you to the moderators for another long stream. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you guys. And I hope you had a good day. I hope you continue to have a good day. Go put some gas in your cars. Prices are probably going to go up tomorrow if they haven't already. And we will talk to you soon. Leave the mods love in the chat. Thank you. Bye. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.